All right, everyone. Welcome to the Sports and Nothing Else podcast, NFC preview edition. Kyle, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How you doing?
Pretty good. I am doing well. Just got home from work, ready to rock, trying to get everything in order. And we're going to go ahead and welcome our first guest in, Ty Miller, a friend of mine that I went to high school with. Hey.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right.
All right. How's it going?
Going good, man. How are you doing?
Good. We're living the dream, you know.
Right.
Really wildly successful, lucrative podcast. So, you know.
Sponsors will start rolling in any day now.
Yeah. Well, we got our big ones, FanDuel, so on.
There you go.
So tell us, while I'm pulling up over-unders and stuff, since I just got home from work, how did you become a Green Bay Packers fan?
My dad grew up in a family that loved the Colts. He was a Baltimore Colts fan. When they left Baltimore in the middle of the night, he was done. And he was over it. He was burned really hard. He thought it was really stupid that they did that. So then he became a Packer fan because of Brett Favre. So that's kind of how it happened. And I've been blessed to have two great quarterbacks, so it makes it easy to root for a team that's really been good for like 20 plus years.
Yeah, no kidding. It's pretty much your whole life they've had a good quarterback, which is remarkable.
Yep. A few restarts where we've had some rough years, but
still.
I think we had 1 4-win season. Other than that, I mean, we're usually in the hunt for the conference.
It's true. You're kind of living the dream, really. I mean, you have 2 Super Bowls in your lifetime. Pretty good.
We should have more, but
I think you could make that argument for sure.
You got Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and now Mahomes that are kind of wrecking the scene, and Brady. But
That's fair. And then you've had some wild playoff games, like the one that you lost to Kurt Warner, Cardinals, and that was like a high 40 scoring game. It was an incredible game.
The undefeated year that we just dropped an egg in the playoffs. Even last year, Tampa Bay just –
Oh, you should have won that game.
The offensive line just let their defensive line wreck our backfield. It was terrible.
I agree. And believe me, as someone who has a strong sports hate for Tom Brady, I was very much cheering for that not to happen. So I'm going to let our listeners know. Ty is much more prepared for this podcast than we are. He sent me some stuff this morning, and I said, oh, geez, our expertise level is going up a significant notch. I do love reading Ty's Facebook posts about the draft and stuff because you can tell he's passionate about it. So, Ty, we're glad you're here.
Glad to be here, man.
So last week we asked everybody this, Pro Football Focus. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They do analytics and all kinds of stuff. You can on NBC uses them on Sunday night to show you like what your starting players rank is. They ranked the 32 teams to start the year. Where do you think they have the Packers as far as a power ranking?
I would assume somewhere between 3 and 5.
You're right. Would you like to try to get it exactly?
4?
That's a good guess. Because I guess 4 is the only number between 3 and 5, but it is 5. They have them at 5.
It's fair. I'm assuming Kansas City, Tampa Bay.
Yes, you're gonna make me read. It's Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Buffalo, and the 4th one is the surprise to me. I don't agree with it at all. It's the
Rams.
Ravens.
Okay.
Which I don't know. I have a hard time with that one, but anyhow. I did want to ask you before we ask you a few other questions and let you recap because I'm do this with most teams, but you're better prepared to tell us about your key acquisitions and losses. How do you feel about the whole Aaron Rodgers thing right now?
I'm just over it. Aaron could have made it not as big of a deal the entire summer, but Aaron, ever since he was drafted, I'm a rare Green Bay fan. I'm honest. He's an arrogant, he might be one of the most arrogant people that's ever picked up a football. But he's like he's like all quiet and nonchalant about it. He enjoys the power he has, and the quieter he got, the more chaos ensued. And he loved it. I know he was enjoying it the whole time.
Yeah, he had taken his vacation pictures from Hawaii and so on. Very nice. I mean,
I would
enjoy that too. Yeah.
All that stuff was leaked by him. There's no doubt in my mind. And, our organization, Murphy, Goot, was always out there talking to the media, but AR was loving the chaos, so he didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. So, all right, Ty. I know you could go for like an hour on this, but But give us your like 2 or 3 key losses and key acquisitions from the offseason.
Okay, the 2 biggest losses would be Corey Lindsley, our starting center. He was easily the best lineman outside of Bakhtiari and then the young Elgin Jenkins. But he became the highest paid center.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably the only other big loss really was Jamal Williams, our number 2 running back, who had proven that he can pass protection. He's better than Aaron Jones. There's aspects of his game. And whenever we were down with Aaron, because he is prone to injury, Jamal always stepped up. Those are really the only 2 big losses we had.
Yeah. And you have an interesting couple of young running backs to go with Jones.
Yes.
So any other acquisitions you want to talk about real quick?
Mainly Green Bay does a lot of re-signings. So the only 2 new players we have, we picked up Randall Cobb for a steal for a 6th rounder. Essentially, we traded Kadar Holman, an unknown 6th round draft pick of ours, for Randall because we traded a 7th. Texans gave us a 7th for him. We re-signed Aaron Jones, Mercedes Lewis, Kevin King. Devondre Campbell is probably going to be an interior linebacker from Arizona Cardinals. 99 tackles last year. He's going to be decent in the middle. He's kind of one of those guys that was still available after the compensatory pick impact. So we picked him up cheap, I think like $5 million, which for a guy with starting experience in the middle, that's a fairly decent contract for the NFL these days.
Yeah, like I said, Ty's more prepared than everyone else, and that's great. If you don't know anything about the Packers, it means you're not listening at the end of this podcast. So, Ty, the over-under for the Packers is 10.5 wins. A reminder to everyone, it's a 17-game season. Would you take the over or the under on that for this season?
My predictions, they're going to go 13 wins again, so I'll take the over. I think there's a good chance we could win only – that's actually 1 more loss because of the extra game, but I still think we could be a better team and still only win 11 or 12. We have a pretty tough schedule.
Yep.
But I would definitely take the over.
Yeah, first place schedule, but you're lucky your division, I think, is not very good, at least for this year.
True.
So
I like a few of the things that other teams have been doing. I think Chicago finally may have gotten their first decent quarterback.
Yeah.
It cost them a ton.
Yep.
But I think it might pan out for them, but I think we're a year or 2 away from them really being a legit contender.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Kyle. Ty takes 13 wins, which I think is realistic, but let's see what you think over under the 10.5, which feels low. I don't know.
So yeah, they went 13-3 last year. I think it's going to be closer to 11 or 12, but I still think they win their division. I still think it's going to be over. That being said, if it's Jordan Love at quarterback, I think they're a 7-win team probably, which is going to be rough. But if it's Rodgers, I don't see any way that this team doesn't win 11 or 12 and hits the over. And that's about all I've got on this.
To me, I plug in 5 wins in division. I think the Lions and Bears are going to be really bad. I think they're going to be bad. The Vikings,
I think they'll split with Minnesota.
Yep, I agree. Those are always good games. But to me, it's 11 or 12, and with the ceiling being 13 or 14 if everything goes right. So it's an over for me. I would actually bet my own money on that and not feel terrible about it. So congrats. We all think your team's going over.
But Kyle, I think you're spot on. If Jordan Love was our starter, I placed our over-under at 7.5. Yeah. With about 4 of those games would probably be won by the defense.
Yeah, he's interesting. I mean, he's talented, but he's not ready to lead a playoff team yet, I don't think.
No, not yet.
All right, Ty. Well, I don't mean to push you out of here fast, but who do you think is going to the Super Bowl this year, and who do you think is going to win it?
I think the Packers finally do get over the hump. We return every offensive weapon except for Jamal, and we have A.J. Dillon sliding in there and Kylan Hill as number 3. So I don't see us – I see us at least making it to the NFC Championship game. I got to say we finally get over that hump. I actually think we defeat the Rams in the championship game, and I believe we then defeat the Bills in the Super Bowl, because I see the Bills being the finally pushing over their hump of years, taking out Kansas City in the AFC Championship.
We had a lot of people pick the Bills last week. I think it makes sense. I think they're the team if you don't want to pick the Chiefs, to be honest. So
I see them and the Rams very similar. I love everything the Rams have been doing. I like everything they've been doing, so they kind of scare me in the NFC.
Yeah, I actually think the NFC is really strong this year at the top. I think you've got really, really good teams that the Rams, if the Rams stay healthy, I don't know if there's a more talented team than them. So
it'd be tough. And Tampa Bay's old and veterans. If they stay healthy, though, they'll be there.
Yeah, and the extra game is not doing any favors to the older teams. So we'll see. But Ty, I honestly, I hope you're right, because that means that Tampa Bay is not in the Super Bowl. So we're going to just cheer for any team that's not Tampa Bay. And if you're Tampa
Sounds
Bay,
good.
I'm sorry, but actually I'm not, because I can't do it. So Ty, we appreciate you coming on, and best of luck with the little one. And Ty's a Bluey fan too, so
Big Bluey fan.
big time. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Good seeing you guys. Have a good one.
You too.
See you, Ty.
All right, my friend Andrew is coming in to talk about the Detroit Lions. We're going to go from the best team in the NFC North to, whoa boy. He's coming in. So far, I won't have to do any editing because we've got our guests just coming back to back. It's awesome. Andrew, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You don't want to show your
Ready
face
for
today?
me?
Yeah, I'm ready for you.
Okay, I joined without video because I didn't know if I was just going to be watching.
No, you're in. You're in. We're ready for you. We're just going to go all out of order and look at you with the background. The
I'm prepared.
Neither of those guys are on your team anymore.
Correct. Which is pretty much all Detroit fans know about the Lions.
Yeah, well, fair. It's just, it's going to be like when we were in college and all the Detroit fans just secretly just cheered for Tom Brady, and that was it. So.
Was that a Josh Van Epps dig?
It was everyone. That was Markins and Bronsink, everyone. But how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good. Have you met Kyle
Good.
before?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I have.
At the Indiana house of your parents.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Which there's they have sold that house and moved to Iowa. So there you go. Even more boring place in Indiana. Somehow they found it. So.
But somehow not as bad as Florida, right?
Oh, geez. Don't get me started. We can't go down that rabbit hole again. It's so bad here. But anyhow, so I saw your son Jonathan's birthday not long ago. So happy birthday to him.
Correct.
And Andrew used to live down here in this terrible state with us.
And mine was Sunday. Thanks for bringing it up.
I wished you a happy birthday and then immediately asked you to come on the podcast.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. So, rate it 1 to 10. How excited are you on this Detroit Lions season this year?
6 or 7.
Really?
I would say. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
think-
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, as a Lions fan, there's always a lot of optimism that never comes to fruition. It's a different feel in Detroit right now.
Yeah.
That's the reason for kind of some excitement.
Yeah, the city has improved a lot, hasn't it?
It has. Well, the city's improved a lot. I mean, if we're going to jump right into it, the organization has improved a lot from the top down. And I think there's a lot of just general confidence in the people making decisions right now.
That's good.
Detroit in a long time.
That's true. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day because you're a Tigers fan. I'm an Indians fan. I would
Mhm.
love to be going the direction that the Tigers are, where there's a clear plan and you have a great farm system and a great manager. And I just have a team that's going to go 500 every year and never spend money and be terrible. So congrats. You're on the way up.
And it's funny because we're still not terribly confident in Avila or Avila, depending on say it. But AJ Hinch
It's
is
awesome.
incredible.
Yes, I totally agree. So let's get back to football because people don't care when we talk about baseball on this podcast. It's true. Kyle knows it. Pro Football Focus has set up power rankings for the NFL teams. Would you like to guess what number they assigned Detroit for the year?
28.
You're an optimist. I appreciate it. It's 32. They
Okay,
have
I was going
them
to guess
ranked.
31, but I thought, Dan Campbell's going to break kneecaps. So,
Ken Campbell is an intense guy.
yes, he is.
He's going to give some great quotes in press conferences after getting beat by 38. It's going to be good.
That is true. Very accurate.
Would you like to tell everyone who your starting quarterback is, since I'm guessing most casual football fans think it's still Matthew Stafford?
Yeah, it's Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
Pretty excited about that, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think if you look at Goff's career, he's had only about 1.5 bad years.
It's true. He's making a lot of money.
Some of it's been the talent around him, but when Jared Goff has been really good, it's been because he's had a good O-line.
Yeah.
And we actually have an O-line in Detroit for the first time in my life, maybe.
I like your starting running back. I like Swift a lot. So
You just got to get there healthy.
yeah. That poor
Not
guy
right
had a
now.
rough first game of his career when he dropped the game-winning touchdown, but
He did.
that was tough. I felt so bad. Those things hurt me in my heart. I don't know how to. It's like relief pitchers. I don't know how to not feel bad for relief pitchers. But anyhow.
Yeah. A new relief pitcher, they just automatically, if they're not good, they get a 27 ERA and have a nice day.
Yeah. See you later. They're never coming back again.
Yeah, go to the Rangers farm system, Buck Farmer.
Yeah. Oh, geez. He was bad for a long time.
He was.
But do you remember like that home run Pujols hit off Lidge, and it was like he never was the same ever again. I feel
well,
bad.
neither was Valverde when Big Pop.
You've had some interesting guys.
Sorry, back to baseball.
But yeah, well, listen, we love baseball on this podcast. All right. So I'm going to give you what Vegas has decided the Lions over-under should be.
5.5.
It's 5 right now.
Oh, really?
That's what I have. We're using FanDuel because they're a big sponsor.
Okay.
So,
well, 97 when the ticket was wrong this morning on my way to work.
Well, no, it depends what book you get it at. You can get it all kinds of different things usually.
Yeah.
Kyle had different numbers than I did last week because he was using a different thing. So you can take 5.5 if you want. You want 5.5?
No, we'll go with 5.
All right.
Not any different. I guess a tie. Does a tie count as a half? How does that work?
Tie.
No, because it's a win,
it doesn't.
right?
It's
Tie doesn't count towards
Doesn't count as
anything. So you
anything.
just basically
Yeah.
lose a game.
Yeah.
So what do you
So
got?
you
What
want
do
the
you think?
prediction?
Over or under or push at 5? Remember,
We
17
have a
games.
tough schedule
everyone.
this year.
Yeah, and you're not going
Lions
to be
have
very
a
good.
tough schedule. It's a Lions thing to do, but I take the over.
You take good for you.
Yeah.
Good for
I've got
you.
them at 6 or 7 wins right now.
All right, I'm proud
And
of
my
you.
heart has them at 8, but I think 6 or 7.
Your heart, he's going to be disappointed.
Well, I think even though he went to Ohio State, there's a football player in Jeffrey Okudah somewhere. Was not in the NFL last year.
I wish you the best. No, you've at least got some talent coming. I mean, might not pan out this year, but
O-line and D-line are solid. I think the quarterback is more than serviceable. Running back, I think Hawkinson's good.
he's a Hawkeye. He's my guy.
It's true. But then you fall off hard when you start talking about the receivers, the safeties, the cornerbacks.
But it's a good thing that the NFL is all running right now. It's a lot of running games, so
it does help. With the D-line the Lions have, that'll help a lot. But the 3-4 with awful linebackers, I
that's
don't
tough.
run that defense.
That's tough. Yeah. All right. So you're going to go over. Kyle, what do you got? Over or under or push?
So I hate to disagree with our guests when they obviously know more about their team than I do. But as someone who grew up as a Lions fan for a very small amount of time before switching to the Titans, I was a huge fan of Joe Harrington, it was a rough 5 years.
Poor Joey.
Harrington, Mike Williams, Roy Williams,
Charles
Kevin
Rogers.
Jones. I love that
a lot of
team.
busts there. A lot of
And
busts.
they were not good. So the Lions really just crushed my soul, and then I became a Titans fan who also have just been crushing it.
Those are high school and your early college years there.
Yep, it is. But there's a lot of turnover on this team. I mean, you look at the weapons that you lost at wide receiver with Galladay, Amendola, Marvin Jones Jr., and you lost your quarterback. I know you're kind of high on Goff. I'm of the opinion that the Rams have won in spite of Goff rather than Goff carrying the Rams. So I think it's going to be under 5. I hope it's not because I honestly still kind of like them, but I think it's going to be closer to 4. I'm going to go under.
Closer to 4? Is it like you're going to get like 4.3 or something, or what's the
4
plan?
and a tie.
Okay.
4 and a tie.
All right.
I don't.
I actually think they're going to go 3-14. Sorry, Andrew.
Oh, I don't take it personally.
I would love for them to not be very good, and I still have a soft spot for the Lions too because Barry Sanders was my favorite growing up. I'd love for them to lose a lot and get a young stud quarterback.
Well, and that was the conversation on the radio today is do you wish that they would lose more than do well? But I honestly think, I mean, the Lions had some real bad games last year, but they had some really close games.
They did.
And they did lose some, but nobody liked or trusted Patricia.
Oh, no.
My optimism is based on the A.J. Hinch factor.
Yeah.
this Tigers team should not be winning baseball games.
No, it's amazing, honestly. I love
But
that
they're
we
confident.
reference baseball 4 times. This is my favorite
I know. I'm
thing.
sorry.
No, you don't
I'm
be
excited
sorry.
about
Never.
the state of the
Don't ever
Tigers
be
and
sorry. You have a guy from
Riley
my
Green
past
is
Riley
tearing
Green's high school
cover off the
every
ball.
day. All right, so we got our next guest coming on. Even though I'd love to
Okay.
talk baseball for another hour with you, it would ruin our podcast listening.
Listen,
audience.
best player on the Lions team. I don't know if you guys know this or not. Jack Fox, just an absolute monster.
I'm gonna look him up.
Yeah, he's
All right.
I also just looked up pictures of Dan Campbell, and I think he might just eat the other team. So I might go over.
Fair.
he did
All
already.
right. Andrew, what is your Super Bowl pick?
Ooh, that's tough.
Just throw something at the wall. I want to hold it
Okay,
against you.
you want me to throw something at the wall? Just
Yeah.
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, of course. Who are they going to play? Who are they going to play in the Super Bowl?
The Chiefs.
Okay, rematch. A lot of people have been picking that. And
No, I don't. I wouldn't actually pick the Buccaneers. I just wanted to pick Tom Brady to make you angry.
It's just like, I wake up angry about Tom Brady. So go ahead. Who do you actually want to pick?
Who do I want to pick?
I mean, like, who would your actual pick be instead of just trying to make me angry?
Instead of trying to make you angry?
Yeah.
I think the Bills are still going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Take
I
the
agree.
Bills out of the AFC, and you know what? I'll take the Packers.
Okay, Bills, Packers, and who's your winner?
I'm going to go Josh Allen.
All right.
I think Rodgers, with all the drama, is going to come in with a chip on his shoulder.
I agree.
Light the world on fire this year. And
I hope so.
I hate the Packers.
I know you do. I want to tell one story before you go. This is true. I'm a pretty weak person when it comes to alcohol, and I don't really drink much. Andrew is the only person, besides my wife and his wife, that has seen me buzzed and heading towards drunk because he slipped a lot more than he told me into a drink he made for me one time. He's the only person. So
I'll have to talk to my lawyer. I don't know if that's libel or slander, but
it's not. But that's the only time. So congrats to you on that. And with that, we got to kick you out of here before I get.
All right. Very good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Tell your family I said hey. All right. From Andrew, a Lions fan, to Sean, a Giants fan. Different Sean from last week. Sean, a good friend of mine who used to work for me. Here we go, repping the Giants gear. Hello, Sean.
Hello.
How's it going?
I kind of forgot we were doing this when I put my shirt on, and then you messaged everybody for the times, and I was like, well, I'm not taking this off.
Yeah. You got to keep it on. So, Sean, we worked together for a long time at the church I still work at, and then we still keep in touch quite a bit. And so Sean is a dear friend of mine. Sean actually answered the call and picked me up at the airport a few weeks ago, deep in the night in terrible Orlando. So
it's a good time.
this is my pal, and he is a New York Giants fan. Explain to us how that came to be, Sean.
So my family is from New York. I believe my grandfather is a Giants fan. He watched the famous Miracle in the Meadowlands. Well, famous for Eagles fans, infamous for Giants fans. Happened live. My dad, as a little kid, that forever scarred him. So when good old Sean Jackson did the part 2 when I was younger, my dad was like, "Listen, I've been here before." So yeah, he introduced me to the Giants a couple years before the game where the Super Bowl where we beat the Patriots. And after that, I was like, "Oh, these guys are probably pretty good." I was wrong. But yeah, so I've been a Giants fan ever since my dad introduced me to them. Much as it pains me, but they're great sometimes.
Well, look, our mutual friend Jake demanded that I would be as mean as possible to you on this podcast, and I'm not saying that I won't, but your team has saved me from 2 Patriots Super Bowl victories. So I have very little negative to say about the Giants because those are 2 of the greatest memories in my life.
Same. Surprisingly.
The 2007 one, I was with all people from Michigan, so Tom Brady fans, and to watch them eat it that whole day, it was great. I just have never been happier. It was the best. So
Yeah, that game. Oh man, if there's like one, it's like if I could just go back in time and watch one game, like we could have a blank slate. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's that game is so
ugh,
it's so good to be a Giants fan.
it was the greatest. It really was. So the Giants are actually a sneaky, like people are picking them to have a pretty good season. Some. Do you
Def-
feel that way?
I want you to define good because I think Giants fans good and everyone else good is two very different things. Like I think last season, if we'd made the playoffs at what would have been like 7-9, 6-10, something like that, that would have been cool. But that's not good. Like that's bad. Like the fact that we were relying on a team that was what 4-11-1 or something to get in, like it's not good. So when all the Giants fans last season were mad, I'm like, okay, but also we only won 6 games, guys. Like, I get that we doubled the record from last season, but it's not going to cut it. Like, so I think you know I've been thinking about like Giants relative to the rest of the NFC East, and that division's such a mess. Like, and the Giants are part of that mess. That calling any like the division winner, they're not getting the first round bye. There's no way. Like
No.
yeah, and so like, do you call that good? Do you call that better? Like the fact that the Giants could have gone to the playoffs last season. Like if we go this season at like 8-8, are we a better team? Like it's tough to say. Like I think they could win the division, but again, what does that really mean in the grand scheme of things?
Fair enough. That's the podcast I was listening to. They were picking them to win the NFC East, which, yes, as you have eloquently covered, is a disaster of a division
Yeah,
right now.
I don't like it seems like every day there's new news about is Dak going to be playing? The Washington football team is an anomaly. The Eagles they're a roller
They're
coaster, and
terrible right now.
the Giants feel like they're on an upward swing, but it's a pretty slow swing in my opinion.
And the
I think
problem,
we're remarkably in a remarkably better place than we would have been without. I don't want to give him all the credit, but without Judge, I think he, at least energy-wise, is bringing a lot to the team. And it's just the vibe is better. Like every time, like I watch a video and he's in it, I feel like this coach gets the team where he gets the team and he gets where the fans want them to be. He understands the expectation, probably because he's used to winning. And so like
that does help.
Yeah.
No, I like Judge. Here's what I don't like. I don't like your quarterback. I think he's terrible. And I worry that is what holds you back. I wish you had a competent quarterback because I think your roster is actually solid and I think your coaching staff is solid, but I think Daniel Jones is going to turn into a pumpkin and you're going to be left going, well, we won 6 games, but we probably should have won 10.
Yeah, I remember after the 2018 draft, you and I talked about the Giants picking Saquon, and that was a gamble. It kind of feels that way now, but because of his injuries. But I think the real gamble was Daniel Jones at 8 and 19, and I think that's going to be the gamble that's going to either keep the GM Gettleman his job or he's going to lose it because he's been drafting linemen every now and then, but like we haven't had the weapons to do anything with them. And now if the offensive line is great and the weapons are great and we're still not being productive, you're like there's only one wrong answer, and it's the quarterback. And the problem is you look at it's like, okay, well, if Daniel Jones doesn't pan out, at least they could put in their backup. No, Mike Glennon and Brian Lewerke. Who?
That's not going to work. It's not going to
go. We have great depth, in the receiving core. You could argue the tight ends, but Kyle Rudolph's kind of old. But like, if no one can get these guys the ball, it doesn't matter how good they are. Like that was kind of the Odell Beckham Jr. problem. Eli just wasn't getting in the ball, and so we just had this really expensive and pretty good guy that wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck because I don't like the other teams in your division, and I have a soft spot for the Giants. But we got to get to our questions here. So, Pro Football Focus has a power rankings, as we mentioned last week on the podcast. Would you like to guess where they have power ranked the Giants to start the year out of the 32 teams?
Okay, I think I read this article, so I might be cheating.
That's okay. Cheating is
Isn't
fine
it?
on this podcast.
I'm gonna. This is where I think it should be, and I'm pretty sure this is where it was. Is it 24?
You're very close. They have them at 26.
Okay,
Which I
you
think
know what?
might be
24, 26.
slightly low, honestly.
I think so. Yeah. But yeah, I think mid. That's still mid 20s. I would say that's correct.
I think they can play themselves into the teens, though. I really do. I actually kind of believe in the Giants, which is scaring me a little bit. So
I believe in them again because of the division. I think we play the AFC West this season as well. With barring excusing the Chiefs, not the greatest division. The Chargers are no one really knows, but
Chargers.
yeah, we could beat the Broncos. I think we're playing them week 1. Probably beat the Raiders. So hey, if we beat all the teams in our division and them, that's 8 wins. I'll take it.
There you go. So that gets us. That's actually a perfect segue. You've done our job for us. The over/under that Vegas has on FanDuel right now is 7 for the Giants.
Okay.
17-game season, 7 wins is the over/under. Would you take the over or the under on your beloved New York Football Giants?
Oh man. Maybe because I'm an optimist, and it's because the Giants are such a wild card. I might take the over.
Good for you. Good for you.
I'm
you
just
have to go 8 and 9.
Yeah.
That's doable.
That's doable. Totally doable.
All right. I should mention before I ask Kyle about his thoughts that I broke the Odell Beckham Jr. trade to Sean on the phone.
I have a vivid memory of that because I was eating dinner and I got a text and you were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "What happened?" Like something. And then I think you sent the link and I was like, "I'm not okay."
yeah. We had to talk on the phone after that.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that was a big one. But honestly, it probably hasn't really hurt you if we're being.
It also hasn't helped the Browns. So.
Yeah, well, that's true. So Kyle, over/under 7 wins, New York Giants, or a push. You can take a push.
So I actually think 7 is probably the right number, but I'm not going to push. I've got to pick either way. I'm sorry, but I think I'm going to go under. And it's. I like your defense. I like your O-line. I really don't think Daniel Jones is good. Last year, 11 TDs, 10 interceptions. He fumbles a ton. He runs like a turkey.
Run he had that then he fell flat.
Yeah,
on his face.
he fumbles by himself. Yeah, there's
correct. He doesn't even have to be touched. It's a problem. To me, he's Carson Wentz 2.0. If you take out the positive Carson Wentz 2017 season,
that's a really
good.
So
a lot of potential that just he hasn't really lived up to. He's really inaccurate. You really don't see guys fix that issue. And now, unless you're Josh Allen, which that's your prayer, is that he takes the jumps that Josh Allen took last year. And if that's the case,
that's like a Hail Mary prayer, right there.
No, that's a huge,
But you just don't see that very often. And I'm not a believer. I'm going to go under, but I think it's 6 or 7. So I still think it's a fine year, and I like the rest of your team.
Yeah.
I actually think it's an 8 and 9 football team because of the dumpster fire that is the NFC East. And I think you have better coaching. And the sad thing is you're actually going to have better quarterback play than most of the division. And I think Daniel Jones is a bottom 6 quarterback in the NFL. But it's like Fitzpatrick and Jalen Hurts. And I don't know. And we don't even know if Dak Prescott's going to play. And that means that you're not getting any quarterback play there either. So just because I think you win probably 4 division games, and then you just have to win a few more to get to 8. I'm gonna give you the over. I would not put my money on it. That would scare me to death. But
there is nothing about this Giants team. If someone was like, "Will you bet money about X?" I would say absolutely not. Unless it's like I think we play the Bucs
Will it be weird
this season? Yeah. Will it be weird?
Yeah. Yeah. You can have my money on that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, Sean, your last task is to give us a Super Bowl pick. Who's going to be playing in it, and who is going to win?
Ooh, who's going to win and who's going to play in it? I'm not going to say the Giants. That's stupid. This isn't 2011 or 2007.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard not to say the Bucs.
It is, but
it's hard not to say it's going to be a repeat. I don't want to be boring though. You know what? I'm just trying to think of the AFC. Let's say, you know what? I'm going to say the Bills will represent the AFC.
Okay.
The NFC. Gosh. I've got to say the Bucs. I can't. I'm trying to think. I'm going division by division. The North, the Packers going to win it? I don't think they're going to take that. The East, we already know, not great.
Yeah, nope.
NFC West. No, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Bucks again.
Fine. And who's gonna win, Sean?
It's probably gonna be Tom Brady.
No, don't do this. Don't we don't do it. Just for everyone's sake.
You know what? Let's go Buffalo. Let's
Bills.
keep the New York rep going. Yeah, why
There you
not?
go. I'm writing it
Don't
down.
make me put points to that though, because I can't even.
No,
I can't do that.
I'm putting it in ink. Bills
Thanks.
win. So, all right, Sean. Sean, by the way, just got done a couple weeks ago dumping ridiculous stuff off the roof of our church onto my head because the kids raised money. Spaghetti sauce, flour,
Yep.
oats.
You had it coming.
It was a good one. So, Sean's always up for a good time, and Sean, we sure appreciate you coming on to this ridiculous podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, go Giants! I'll say it with you. 8
Yeah,
wins,
thanks.
baby.
Yeah, go Giants. Let's go. 8
Yeah,
wins.
let's go.
8-9. Woo.
All right. See you, Sean.
Bye, guys.
All right, we're welcoming in just one of my dearest friends in the world, who I grew up with, spent many nights at his house. There he is. He's connecting to audio. He's coming. Hey,
Good day.
what's going on?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I hear you were shoveling rocks this evening. So how you doing after that?
Shoveled rocks. Then I ate my face off.
Good, as one should after shoveling rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After I went around town and sold dead trees all day.
That sounds like a blast.
I'm
Oh, look at that little thing.
really. Thanks.
Outstanding. So Alex claim to fame in the Bachman house is that he once threw Kyle up the stairs of our house.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Yep.
It's really great for me.
I just need to prove a point, Kyle. You know.
Yeah. So I've seen Alex do many amazing things. Blow up a pen in a Spanish class after getting a bad grade on a test.
Yeah.
And hit bombs our senior year of high school, despite being stuck in the 9-hole all season. So.
And bloops, but a
Well,
couple bombs.
we know how to do the bloops.
That's right.
So anyhow, yes, Alex and I have been dear friends since Alex moved to Middlebury I guess it was when you were in 5th grade, but I didn't know you in 5th grade. I knew you in 6th grade.
So, yeah.
So
1998.
Yeah. And we were both too goofy in middle school to make anything but the B team. So we played a lot of B team basketball together. And,
Best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, we would crush people, but it's not because we were super good. It's just we were on the B team. So
Yep.
anyhow, and then when we played against each other in practice, Alex tried to break people's legs with his bony knees, but that's a whole different thing. So.
Yeah, that was my signature move. Charlie
Yes.
horsed him for 2 weeks, and then you
move.
could definitely beat him.
I had so many bruises from his knees. I wasn't fast enough to get around him. So, all right.
Yeah.
So, Alex, tell everybody who you're a fan of.
That'd be the Chicago Bears.
The Bears. And I have to tell you, I'm excited for you because I love Justin Fields. I mentioned it on this podcast a bunch of times.
Yeah, I mean, I really like what I see. It just hurts that he had to come from Ohio State, but I'll have to get over that.
Yeah, you Boilermaker. I know that's tough for you. But what you really need is an offensive line to block for him. It's a little scary right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to get, as long as we stay healthy, I think we're okay. But we need to get Andy Dalton hurt with our bad offensive line first.
There you go.
You probably should hire the who was it that stabbed the Bills? Wasn't the Bills?
Oh yeah, the stabbed Tyrod Taylor last year.
Yeah, who stabbed Tyrod Taylor? Do you need to hire that doctor real quick?
I thought you were going with
a quick stab in the
Tanya
chest.
Harding is what I thought you were going to say with the Nancy
Could do that as
Kerrigan.
well.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah. So we love Justin Fields on this podcast. I wish you the best with that one.
Yeah, I'm like I always am. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Bears quarterback because, I mean, I've got a lot of Bears quarterback PTSD to work through. But
yes, you do. Yes, you do. Rex Grossman.
if I wish, yeah. Oh gosh. I wish they would have just gone with my strategy like 10 years ago and just trade the entire team to the Packers for Aaron Rodgers and just get replacement players, and they would have been better than they were start out. So
Listen, it would have saved you a lot of yelling at the TV. A
Yeah.
lot.
yeah.
Yes. Watching sports with Alex is a treat. And we used to play a lot of sports video games and get angry about that too. So
You have bruises from that too.
I do, not maybe as many as Tyler, but
No,
quite a few.
Accurate.
So, all right. Well, we'll get into it here. Our other friend Joel is chomping at the bit to get in here later to do his 49ers nonsense. The Bears. Pro Football Focus does a power rankings to start the year. Where do you think they have them ranked out of the 32 teams to get started?
18.
Wow, that's really good. They have them at 19. 19.
Well, they were wrong because they're 18, but
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I'll accept your logic. So 19. Do you think they're going to make the playoffs?
you know what? I do. And here's why, because I think the division this year is up for grabs. And if I got to pick somebody, I'm going to pick my team because the Lions will figure out how to lose.
Oh, they're terrible. Don't worry about that.
Vikings are terrible. And Green Bay has just got to be like, what is going on? And they're gonna struggle to get past whatever has gone on there.
I think you might be right.
I'd be mind screwed if I was on that team. Thinking, and if Aaron Rodgers comes out and can play after pulling that offseason thing, I mean, I think he should play golf personally, from what I saw. But
Yeah, or maybe Jeopardy. He could do anything. Just not
Maybe
hurt your heart anymore.
maybe he can join North Carolina State or whatever A&P with
with JR.
J.R. Smith.
Yeah, that's amazing. By the way, amazing.
Yeah. I've never wanted to watch college golf before until now.
Seriously, put that on TV. I will watch it. He probably won't keep his shirt on. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So we should mention some key acquisitions. We've already mentioned Justin Fields and Andy Dalton. You got Damian Williams from the Chiefs, the running back, and Desmond Trufant, corner from the Lions. This is listed as a key loss, but it's only because you don't have to watch him play anymore. Trubisky is gone. Cordero Patterson, Anthony Miller, and Kyle Fuller. Kyle Fuller, who I actually love.
I know.
Is gone.
That one kind of stings, but we've signed somebody to try to figure it out, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't know. The Damian Williams is interesting to me. We'll see what happens because
With him and Montgomery, that's pretty good.
that's kind of a, I don't know, I want to say a smash and dash or whatever the right way to put that is, but
I'll accept it.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. You at least got a 1-2 punch. I don't know if Cohen's healthy or what's going on with him because I haven't seen, but I mean, Tariq Cohen.
Yes. No. Oh, I know. I've had him on fantasy multiple times, so I actually hate that guy, but I think he's talented.
I despise Tariq Cohen. He's just ruined us multiple times.
We've had him on our teams, and it's been a mess, but I think he's talented. I hope they figure out how to use him right.
Yeah.
He's on the PUP list right now currently.
Gotcha. So, yeah, they should probably Devin Hester him. Just kick
Just return kicks. Seriously. Yeah, you got enough running backs now. All right. So I'm going to throw a number at you. This is what FanDuel has for the over-under for wins. They have the Bears at 7.5 in a now 17-game season. Would you take the over or the under 7.5?
I'm putting house on over.
Yes, I love optimistic fans. And I can't wait week 2 to try to get a zoom into your house to see you screaming at the television.
Yeah, no, it just takes one bad fourth down, and
I know.
But I mean, it would be 9.5 on FanDuel if Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing for the Packers this year. But That's the only thing. That's the only wild. I haven't looked at their schedule to see actually how tough it is, but we're gonna beat the Lions twice.
They're
We're
bad.
gonna lose plenty of games that we should win, and we're gonna win games we should lose, and it's gonna come out probably around 9.
All right. 9 wins. That would be
Hot take.
probably not quite the playoffs, but who knows? Kyle.
Oh yeah,
over-
17 games. So yeah.
Yeah. Kyle, over under 7.5.
So I had it at 7, and I was actually going to choose a push because I think that's about the right number because your schedule is actually really hard. I mean, you play, I think you beat Detroit twice, but then you play Baltimore, San Francisco at home, Tampa Bay, the Rams, Seattle, Cleveland,
San
Pittsburgh.
Francisco's easy.
It's a tough schedule though, and so here's the argument against it. So 6 of your wins last year were 1-score games, which is 6 of the 8, which is kind of luck of the draw at that point. So you could argue that you got a little luckier to get to 8-8 last year. That being said, you have the ultimate 8-8 quarterback and the guy that partnered with Marvin Lewis for mediocre seasons for years and years and years. So if Dalton's the quarterback the whole year, I think you probably finish
He's
around
not.
500.
Alex will
The
be
problem-
so mad.
And so would I. I mean, the problem with Dalton is where are you going? You're not going to win any playoff games with Dalton. If you want to be mediocre, sure, but why would you not play the guy that you think is your future, even if it results in a couple fewer wins this year? You're going to be better off
Well,
for it in the long
yeah.
run.
And let's be honest, Dalton is headed to the IR pretty quickly. I mean, he's not gonna. I don't know. If he doesn't lose his job from sucking, he's gonna get hurt, and then we'll be good to go.
There you
He'll
go.
take natural selection. I'll take care of
Natural
himself.
selection. So Kyle takes the under.
So, and the other thing with that, and you hit the nail on the head, is if Rodgers gets traded, I think you go over just because those are 2 more wins that you're going to have that I don't think you're going to have if Rodgers is there. So I'm going to go under, but I think it's right about right. At 7.5.
I think Minnesota's garbage, so that's 2 wins. I think automatically too. But
I love your optimism. I am unfortunately
oh no,
also, but here's why. I'm actually cheering for you. I want Justin Fields to win the Rookie of the Year. I want him to play all year. I want him to take some lumps because he will.
oh yeah.
But I want to see him throwing the ball to Allen Robinson. That's what I long to see. So I'm going to take the under, but I'm cheering for the under because I think that means Fields plays most of the year, and I think you win 6 or 7 games. And then you'll be way better off next year and you win 10 or 11. There you go.
I mean, it even hurts for me to. I'm not there yet. Okay.
No, I don't want you to be there. I'm just saying from an outside
I'm
perspective.
just saying, if that's the way I'm feeling at like week 7, I'm going to be a pretty grumpy person
I know.
already.
I'll call you and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to? I let one of Kyle's friends tell embarrassing stories about Kyle last week. You want to throw anything my way before you go? Because you know where the skeletons are buried. Not real skeletons, people. We did not commit murders in high school.
No, not to people, just mailboxes. But
That's true.
I don't even know where to go with this. You're just not that embarrassing.
No, not too much.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had just a real great story, but you're just a stand-up guy. I mean, I don't know.
That's I appreciate that. I'm not sure it's true, but it's appreciated.
Oh, here is an embarrassing story for Jesse. I knew I had one. He might. I haven't got to watch the show because my Facebook got stolen, and that's the only way I knew how to watch
That's
it.
the thing. I realized I couldn't even tag you anymore because you don't have a Facebook.
Yeah, so that's a thing. But
YouTube.
I haven't seen if this is the way you talk, like you're a Colts fan.
Oh, here we go.
But you were a Lions fan. I mean, we play video games, and you had to be the Detroit Lions. That was your favorite team. So you jumped on a bandwagon at some point that you never got off of, and I'm pretty embarrassed for you.
I should have known this is where you're going to go. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
There's a backstory behind that, but we won't litigate that right now. But you're right. Alex is right about this, and I make fun of people about that kind of thing. So I deserve that one. Would you like me to let our friend Joel in to say hey before you go?
I'd love to. I'd love to see
right.
that. big unit.
Yeah, his head will take up the whole screen. See, look at that thing. Can you see that picture?
I can't.
There he is. There he is.
Hey,
What's going on?
look at these three.
Oh my goodness. How are you?
Let's get into it. First of all, you guys have got to lean into your get out of here. You've got to lean into it. I love it.
Don't get me in trouble. Don't
I'm not.
start this.
I'm not getting you in trouble. I'm just saying this. First of all, you two are very good at this. Kyle, Jesse, you do this really well. Like, you do. You're very good. You have a rapport. It's fantastic. But thank you for finally talking about a sport that people care about.
Yeah.
Baseball is for the elderly. Get out of here.
You played baseball in high school with me. Don't tell me it's for the elderly.
Nobody cares. Jesse, the longest baseball I ever hit in my life originated in your glove. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, get out of here. Kyle.
Hey, hold on. Alex has got to go. We're going to stop your rant.
No, Alex needs to stay for this last one. He needs to stay for that.
Okay, fine.
Kyle, you got thrown up a flight of stairs. Get out of here.
Yes.
By that man right there.
We actually already talked about that when Alex came on. It's a legendary story in the Bachman house.
Yep.
You are a legend, Alex. You are a legend.
I just want to do it again and just see how that works. I don't know.
He's bigger than you now that you slimmed down and look so good.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So
For the love, don't try that again.
yeah.
The problem is now you'll fight back. So that's the scary part.
Yeah. Kyle's probably the scariest of all four of us at this point. There's a bunch of teddy bears and Kyle.
Yeah.
The kids make you soft.
It's true.
It's true. So, well, Alex, you can stay as long as you want, but you're also free to go. It's good talking to you.
Yes. Good to see all of you guys. And the 49ers will be under 4 would be my prediction. If you want that.
Under 4.
There's your hot take.
I liked it.
Under the 4th seed or what?
Do you want 4.5? I'll give you 4.5. Yep.
Yes,
that is a pretty ugly helmet. Yep.
All right, whatever. Get out of here. Bears suck.
All
right.
Geez. All right, Alex. We'll talk to you later.
Bear down.
Yeah, Alex.
Yeah. The Bears.
Bear down.
How do you turn this thing off?
You just switch sides.
The elderly. There you go.
How do you turn this off?
All right. Well, Joel is going to play the role of that Brandon did last week. He's our expert to come in to talk about the teams we did not find fans for. But we're going to let him do his team first, the San Francisco 49ers. Joel did not grow up in California. He grew up right here in Indiana. Joel, how'd you become a 49ers fan?
They were good when I was a kid. And they were always on TV. So, hey, I'm not going to root for a terrible team. Speaking of that, here's another grievance to air. You are not a Colts fan.
Alex just litigated this like 5 minutes ago. Don't worry about this.
You are a Lions fan, but I won't bring that up.
Listen. Okay, I will go into that story now that Alex is gone because Alex he threw me under the bus rightfully on this. Okay, look, I was a Lions fan for a long time. I went away to college. The people were so miserable, and they were all Tom Brady fans, even though they claimed to be Lions fans. I couldn't take it anymore. I moved over to the Colts. I made an executive decision. And listen, I've been with them through a 1-15 season, through Jacoby Brissett and Carson Wentz. And I went to a game in Jacksonville with Jags fans, and my quarterbacks were Matt Hasselbeck, and then he got hurt, and Charlie Whitehurst. Like,
yeah, clipboard
listen,
Jesus.
I've at least stayed. I've stayed true. Scott Mitchell ruined it for me for the Lions. I couldn't do it anymore. Anyhow, you're right. I'll accept my error on that.
Fair enough. I was completely jaded by going to school in Ohio, and if I ever see anyone do OHIO again, I will probably vomit on them. It's horrible.
Fair enough. I will never forget going to one of your games at Bluffton and it was the day that Michigan lost to Appalachian State, and the crowd was so amped because it was such a mess.
Oh, I remember walking in between dorm rooms and the Ohio State fight song blaring out of everybody's windows that day. Just awful stuff. Anyway, who cares? The 49ers, I gotta be an objective fan. I think they have a lot of young talent. I think they have a great coach. I think that their head coach is a brilliant offensive mind, and they're going to do things that will win games just from their coaching staff. They need a quarterback who's consistent. When Garoppolo's healthy, he plays well, they win games. When he's not healthy, they're a dumpster fire. Obviously, I feel like Trey Lance helps that a lot. I've liked what he's done in the preseason. Certainly, he is raw. He's only played a couple of games in the last 24 months.
He's like half our age, too.
Yeah.
He's very young.
Yeah. Here's a tidbit for you. I read today that in their practice, which this is unheard of in the NFL, in their practice today, both Garoppolo and Lance took first team reps. And in the middle of drives during the team session, Shanahan was pulling quarterbacks in and out dependent on the down and distance and the defensive situation. So is this going to be a Taysom Hill situation where Trey Lance comes in at times for them? Maybe. Do I think he gives them better hope for the future? Definitely. But do I think that he's the starter today? Definitely not. I think Jimmy G's got to be your guy. When they play well on defense, they're as good as Tampa Bay. And I really feel like they can threaten anybody in the league. And they were a couple snaps and a couple missed holding calls away from winning a Super Bowl 2 years ago. So
one good deep ball to Emmanuel Sanders.
Yep, exactly. And again, that goes back to Jimmy G. And Jimmy G, I think, is the best quarterback they've had there in years. But he's got a lot of holes in his game. And last year you saw those holes. And certainly he will force the ball into tight windows and he will turn the ball over. I feel like personally, one of the most telling stats in the NFL is turnovers. And you see teams that create a lot of turnovers one year and then they create less the next year because sometimes turnovers are just luck. It happens. The ball bounces funny. It has 2 points at the end. So it's going to do weird things. But Jimmy G will throw the ball into some tight spaces that he has no business throwing them into. And I really think that hurts the 49ers' chances in the long run. I think that they're a team that could threaten for the division if they get hot. But again, that division is the best division in football. And they are going to beat the snot out of each other. And I don't see a single team in that division who doesn't have a winning record this year, to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard when you do over-unders with a division like that because you just can't imagine anyone really running away with it. I think the Rams are the most talented team in your division, but they're thin, and so it's just hard to know. 17 games now. It's harder than ever to have a thin team because you're just not going to get through that season unscathed, injury-wise. Every year, I turn on football after not having watched for a while, and I go, this is such a brutal, brutal sport. Every year I turn it on and I go, how are all these guys not hurt by like week 3? I don't understand it. Now, granted, I'm built like a little fleck of dust. I understand that if you put me out there, I would be the end. I would be dead. My parents literally would not let me go out for football my senior year, even though I asked them to let me play. That's how little I was then. And so 17 games is a lot. And then, you're talking about, if you want to get deep into the playoffs, you're starting to look at like 21 games. That's a lot of games. So your team is youngish, and so that may help as far as recovery and that kind of thing. But I don't know. Now that we're 34, 35, I don't recover the way I used to. It just doesn't happen for me. So
no,
definitely I'm not. Losing my hair, and what are you going to do? So
it happens.
Yeah.
I think here's a couple keys for the 49ers. Number one, can you stay healthy? When they stay healthy, they're a really good team. Number two, can your key players contribute like they did in 2019? Can Nick Bosa go off like he did in 2019? Can George Kittle catch 85 balls?
I love George
honestly,
Kittle.
Yeah, George Kittle. I mean, George Kittle's the oldest offensive weapon they have at 27 years old. And I'm not including Raheem Mostert in that, who is he is freakishly fast, like pushing Tyreek Hill for the fastest player in the NFL. But, they have a young team. Their offensive line has huge issues. Their defensive secondary is probably suspect. And I would be remiss if I didn't think that
you don't even mean a police suspect like Richard Sherman.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I would be remiss if I didn't say that. I am not condoning his nonsense, and I hope that he gets the help that he needs for that mental health piece, because we can all struggle with that at times. But missing somebody with that type of wisdom in the secondary is going to be huge for them. They don't have anybody that can fill that role. And so I'm wondering about that. Their front seven is going to be one of the best in the NFL. I think them and Tampa Bay probably have the best front sevens in all of football.
Yeah. Tampa Bay is scary when they get it going. We'll talk about that in a little bit, even though I don't want to because I hate them. We did this with everybody, and you listened last week because you sent me texts about it pretty quickly. Where do you think Pro Football Focus has the 49ers ranked to start the year out of the 32 teams?
Well, I think I heard you say they're ninth.
That's correct. That is correct. Which, I don't know, seems fair, right around the Browns and the Seahawks.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's hard to know, but
it is.
There are certain teams, because I'm friends with people that I kind of have a soft spot for, and they're of course one of them because of you, the Bears, because of our pal that came on before.
A good guy.
And I know how Alex watches sports, and I just imagine like, oh, how pissed is he right now? I can just see it. So,
I just saw him. I see him in that easy chair, and I think, man, he's living the life. And then you're right; those thoughts come right into my mind. Like I could just see him picking up a pillow and chucking it at his TV or something like that.
Yeah, it's the best.
Fit of rage.
So, anyhow, some key acquisitions. Trey Lance, of course, who he looks interesting. Who knows. You added more running backs in the draft. Trey Sermon, most notably, and then Alex Mack, a good center from the Falcons. Yeah. So, and then we talked about Richard Sherman. You lost him, Jerick McKinnon, but who cares? You have plenty of running backs, and Tevin Coleman, same thing. And then Jordan Reed, who actually had a couple of nice games for you last year when Kittle was hurt. He retired because that poor guy has had so many concussions. Holy smokes.
No doubt.
You want those people to stop playing. Just please stop, please. So, with that being said, Vegas has your beloved 49ers over-under at 10.5, at least what I have on FanDuel, our big sponsor of this podcast. Would you take the over-under at 10.5? That's a good number, I think.
It is. It's a perfect number. I think they go under. I think they go 10-7. And I know we'll get to this with these other teams we're talking about. But as I mentioned already, I think this is the best division in football, or one of the best. And they could get 4 teams into the playoffs this year. The NFC West could have 4 teams in the playoffs this year.
They weren't that far from doing it last year.
I really believe this could be what we see, because I see some top heavy divisions in the rest of the NFC, but then a lot of teams that are just not going to be very good, or I just can't see their pathway to the playoffs. So Anyway, we'll talk more about that with those other teams, but I just want to make this point as well. It's easy for us to get caught up with fantasy football because it's what we all play. I need a fantasy league. I haven't played in a couple of years. I need to go back to it. I love it. But fantasy football can be something that's a little bit deceiving when it comes to what actually happens on the field, right? When is the last time Julio Jones won a championship? And he's been the best receiver for the last 10 years. It isn't always about the weapons. Every one of these NFL teams is going to have a kicker on the field hundreds of snaps this year. And that is a huge determining factor in wins and losses, and whether you can move the football.
Ask the Bears.
Yes. And I tell you this, the teams in the NFC West have some of the best special teams in all of football. I watch a lot of those games. And one of the things that makes the Rams even more scary is their special teams coach is tip top. I think he's the best in the league. And they always find ways to steal first downs in key games with a fake punt or a fake field goal or something like that. And they're always a step ahead. To me, those things matter in the course of the season. And if you could steal a win or two, and next thing you know, you're at 12 wins or 11 wins, I think you're going to be in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. Kyle, do you have a pick for over/under on the San Francisco 49ers at 10.5? Gosh, that number is making me – I'm struggling with that one. I don't look at them beforehand. I want to go with my gut.
It's higher than I want it to be, but I think they can get to 11 looking at their schedule. And I agree with you that their division is probably the best in football. That being said, I'm not very high on Arizona this year. So I think they win both those games, and their non-conference schedule is not very good. I mean, you play Green Bay. I'm not as high on Tennessee as some people are, even though I'm a Titans fan. And then the rest is a dumpster fire. I mean, you play Indy, but then in Chicago, Minnesota,
Indy
Jacksonville,
sucks.
Atlanta, Philly, Houston, Cincinnati, and Detroit. I mean, you should win all of those games. I think you might sneak to 11 there. I'm a really big Trey Lance fan. I actually think he may win the Rookie of the Year if he gets enough snaps.
Not going to.
I'm a little biased because he played in the Summit, as did I. Some serious intramurals in the Summit. So he's my guy. I got to root for him there. Also, you had a ton of bad luck last year and underperformed your win total at 6-10. I think there's a chance you get to 11. I don't feel good about it, but I'm taking the over.
You almost convinced me, but I'm taking the under I'm taking 10 wins. I actually love the 49ers, and I think I would be terrified to play them in the playoffs if they are whole and healthy and Shanahan can scheme for you. I feel bad for him because I think he's he was just whiskers from 2 Super Bowls, and it was unconscionable not to run the ball after that catch Julio Jones made against the 49ers or the Patriots. I mean, it was unconscionable. And that's, by the way, that catch, the Edelman catch in that game was the one that gets remembered. But that catch Julio Jones made on the sideline, there are like 3 humans in the history of the world that can make that catch. One of them played for the Lions.
Yep.
And I just decided the number should be 3. I can't really think of anybody else. This is
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice was 6'6" like that.
Watch some film.
Okay, fine.
Look at some YouTube clips.
Listen, he probably would have been more open, and Joe Montana would have thrown a better ball. But that catch, Julio Jones, he turned his body. Your body's not supposed to be able to do what it did and get 2 feet down. It's unbelievable.
No,
anyhow,
not at all. Let me just say this before you move on as well about Shanahan specifically. Shanahan needs somebody who will manage the game for him. The guy takes bad timeouts. He doesn't know how to get points at the end of a half. Good coaches in the NFL can squeeze out 3 points before the end of a half. He doesn't do it very often. And I find myself scratching my head a lot because of some of the play call choices he makes. I will say this, calling offense is difficult. I've done it before. It is difficult. You have to be multiple steps ahead. And when something doesn't work, you can't panic about things. And I think sometimes he goes into that, the perfect play is this, and I have to call it now, rather than going to his players that can make a difference in those scenarios. And he's lost 2 Super Bowls because of it, in my opinion. Let me also say this, Kyle, your analysis is always spot on. You're so fast with it. He's so good. Good work, Kyle.
Just don't make me elaborate because I've got my sentence prepped and then I've got nothing.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyhow, I should mention, because Sean commented last week on the YouTube, he put a comment about the fact that Kyle didn't get to talk very much, and that's just kind of, Kyle and I have worked this out. It's true, because I mentioned it to Kyle after the podcast, like, boy, you didn't get to say a lot. But this is kind of the roles we've decided on, and so I don't want you to think that like I'm trying to freeze.
It is by design.
Trust me, that's not the way it is. We love each other, and it's not just a little.
Well, and I follow football about 1/8 as much as I follow the NBA, and about 1/8 as much as I follow baseball. So if you want to talk like Australian punk rock scene, I can do that for about an hour, but I cannot talk about the 49ers for an hour.
All right. Well, Joel, you should know, by the way, before we go too much further, that I have convinced my daughters that Foo Fighters are excellent. And they're yelling at Alexa about playing Shame, Shame and Walk and all kinds of things. So it's good stuff. Joel loves Foo Fighters. Yes. All right, yes. Joel, before we go any further, because I made everybody do this, what's your Super Bowl pick?
Honestly, I think I totally agree with you. I think the 49ers get to 10-7, and I think they get there on a hot streak. I think they figure a few things out, and I think Kyle's prediction about Trey Lance might not be far off. I think he gets that job eventually and lights a fire under that offense, and they figure some things out. And like you said, Jesse, they turn into the team nobody wants to play. and I have them beating the Buffalo Bills. And I'm going to give you the score. I think the 49ers have to score points to beat the Buffalo Bills because they're going to score a ton of points themselves. I think it's 31-28 San Francisco, and they win their 6th ring.
All right. Listen, I cannot wait to come back to this paper at the end of this football season and talk about – no, seriously, because there's a whole bunch of – I mean, we had some interesting picks last week, and the Bills can keep coming up because I think people don't want to pick the Chiefs. And so I think it's going to be really interesting. Kyle and I will give our pick at the end of this podcast, which I didn't tell him about, but he's going to do it anyways. And this is about how prepared we are usually. So anyhow, all right, we're going to do a rapid fire, Joel. And at some point, Nick, who works for me, is going to pop on to talk about the Rams, who are your biggest problem, I think, in the NFC West. So we're going to start with the worst teams, and we're going to make our way to the best teams. So we covered the Lions with my friend Andrew, because as you know, I have plenty of Lions friends, and you can go back to that if you want. But the Eagles are 30th ranked team by Pro Football Focus. I think they might be worse than that. I don't know where they're going exactly. I don't like Jalen Hurts at all, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? As many of you know, I do sports cards. I have not bought a Jalen Hurts card in months. I don't believe Justin Herbert. I believe every ounce of my fiber of my being. Jalen Hurts, it's the opposite. So if you were to predict what this season is going to look like in a bad division for the Eagles, what do you think?
I think they are over the line. I think the line's 6.5. I think they get to 7 wins, but I think they do it because of, like you said, basically by proxy, because that division is so bad. Honestly, you could have flipped a coin with those games last year and determined who won which games. And I just think maybe this year they win a few more than they did last year. I do like Doug Peterson. I think Jim Schwartz is a good defensive coordinator. They were 20th in first downs last year on offense, and you're not going to win a lot of games if you're 20th in first downs. So that's where I think the Eagles stand.
All right, Kyle, let's just get right into it. What do you have what do you think? Because Joel's right. Joel's prepared. The over-under is 6.5. What do you think?
I think it's under, and I think they win 6. This is a team that I think blows it up midway through the season because they have a weird mix of young guys and veteran talent, and you might as well get something for that veteran talent. I think if they stand pat, they might get to 7, but I'm not a huge Hurts fan. They've got a new coach. It's not a great combination between essentially a rookie quarterback and a new coach, new offense. I'm not real high on them. I really have literally nothing else. So
I like Devontae Smith.
I don't have much else.
What I've seen, but I don't know. This is the opposite problem of the NFC West is like who's going to win these games in our division. Our teams are all bad, and so they may get to 7 wins just because they have to, because someone has to win the games. But I took the over on the Giants, so I'm taking the under on the Eagles just as like a sliding doors type thing where one is a little better than the other, but they're the same team. The Redskins are the same team too. They probably have more blue chip talent, but sorry, there is no Redskins anymore. Apologies. The Washington football team. They're no good either, but they do have Chase Young, who is awesome. And
decent logo.
No,
decent
the logo is long gone. Yes. One of my favorite collections is Joel's mini helmet collection that if you go into his house on game day, they're paired up. They're paired up against who they're playing. It's the greatest. It's just the best. The Sienicki
It's
household.
pathetic.
No, it's not. It's a football household. That's just what it is.
You can't spell football without Sienicki.
Yeah, I don't know if that's technically correct, but
listen, I am the Simone Biles of this podcast when it comes to football knowledge. So stop that.
Okay. No, you're right. You're right.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Joel's dad, longtime coach at Northridge High School. He even stupidly let me keep stats for the team for a long time, which was fun. Joel and I used to do that before Joel was playing. And then, I have a lot of fond memories watching Joel play football. Not as many wins as we would have liked, my friend, but I still enjoyed every minute of it.
Thank you. What a nice comment. Football is the ultimate team game, and that is, I think you're about to go into more of these ultimate teams who ultimately suck. And that's what I was going to say about the Eagles. They're terrible, but so is the division.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Moving on. Oh, I did not actually do this, a team preview. Key acquisitions. This is where it gets a little dark. Devontae Smith, who I like, but then Kerryon Johnson, that doesn't matter. Joe Flacco, that matters less. They lost Wentz and Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey. None of these things even matter. None of these players are important players. I'm so depressed that Carson Wentz is going to be the Colts quarterback. And then Jalen Mills, who I do kind of like, went to the Patriots. Oh, and we should mention Nick Sirianni is their head coach now.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I said Peterson,
okay.
didn't I?
Yeah, he's gone.
Oops.
Bye-bye, Doug.
He's long gone. I do like Doug Peterson, though. I think
too.
he deserves a job somewhere.
Yeah.
He won't get one now, though. But anyway, go ahead.
All right, we're moving on to a team that there's some sleeper buzz on, the Carolina Panthers. Joel says no, and I was interested to hear what you thought about that. They're 25th on Pro Football Focus. Their over-under is, let me pull it up here. Sorry, everyone. 7.5. Joel, what do you think?
Can you think of another quarterback who was in deep, dire straits in a previous role and moved to a new city and was all of a sudden better?
The best example I think I can give you is Tannehill, I guess.
That was health. That wasn't skill, really, that improved.
Bingo. Kyle is all over it again. Thank you. But I feel like the Panthers are the definition of middle of the road. They are not going to do anything that thrills you, but they're also not going to be horrible. I think Sam Darnold could be good. I think he could fit really well. And I think you got to love Christian McCaffrey, and that dude can do things for you. He's going to get the ball 500 times. He's going to touch it 500 times this year. And they'd be stupid if he didn't. But does that win you football games? I don't think it does. And the NFC South is playing the AFC East and the NFC East. So that's winnable games. But do I think the Panthers are going to beat the Buccaneers? Do I think that they're going to be pushing for a wild card spot? No, not at all. I think they go over, but I think they get to 8 wins.
Which I think would be a successful season for them. Second year with Matt Rule, who people really love. And yeah, I mean, you want to keep McCaffrey healthy. I love DJ Moore. I think he's great. They added J.C. Horn, the 8th pick, and they needed a good corner. So hopefully he does a good job for them. They lost Mike Davis, who's now the starting running back on the Falcons. And Teddy Bridgewater, who's the starting quarterback on the Broncos. They was named today. And Curtis Samuel, who I also kind of liked last year. I thought they did really interesting things with some of those guys. And I watch a lot of Panthers because there's a lot of NFC South on down here because I'm in the Florida market. So it seemed like they were always on, and Kyle and I had Mike Davis on multiple fantasy teams after McCaffrey got hurt. So we were always cheering for him. But what is to be excited? You know, they're not going to go like 3-14, but they're not getting to 10 wins. There's just, it feels impossible. So at 7.5, oh gosh, Kyle, what do you think?
I think this team sucks, and it's mainly because I hate Sam Darnold. I'm going hard under. In fact, I think they get to 6 maybe. Bridgewater went 4-11 as a starter year one. Darnold is 13-25 in his career. Now, granted, that was with the Jets and Adam Gase, but you could argue that Gase was even held back by Sam Darnold's play. I mean,
I don't know. I think it might be the other way around.
I think it's a combination of both, but he was average at USC. He's always been turnover prone. Basically, the scouting report for him is that he struggles to make the tough throws, struggles to make throws under pressure, but he also doesn't make the easy throws. He doesn't make the throws with the clean pocket. He struggles to hit open receivers. He's basically a tight end playing quarterback. The skills are – the talent is there as far as the top end of it, but he's so inaccurate that when you see the size, you see the arm strength, but I am not a fan at all. I actually think he's a downgrade over Bridgewater. I'm going to go under.
Here's what happened. There was one clip of him running to his left and throwing across his body and firing a football that went about 60 yards in the air. Mm-hmm. And everybody thought, he's so good because he can do that. Yeah, great, fantastic throw, but it was incomplete.
Yeah, that's the Sam Darnold experience, everyone.
Mhm.
Oh, geez. I think I'm going to go right in the middle of you two guys and go with 7 wins. They feel like 7 wins to me, which is Vegas knows what they're doing. These are not idiots making these lines. I'm going to take the under, but it's a coin flip to me. I would not bet 1 cent of my hard-earned money on that. So, all right, great. Kyle's going hard under though, because Kyle hates Sam Darnold. So this is going to be an interesting year for you, Kyle. All right.
It's terrible.
There you go. All right, we got rid of the worst teams. We're going to move to, wow, that seems really low. Team 23, the Minnesota Vikings. 23? Are they that bad, Joel?
I do. I think that they are. And I think last year was an anomaly that they got to 7 wins. And frankly, that they were anywhere close to the playoff discussion last year was a joke. I think Kirk Cousins, he has exactly what you don't want in a quarterback. He's underinformed and he's an overanalyzer. And you don't want that in the NFL. You want a guy who is cool under pressure, can deliver, and isn't having to defend himself from his receivers wondering what the heck he's doing on every down. On top of that, I think that the Vikings defense is solid. I think that they have a decent pass rush. I think that they have potential in a lot of places, but they play in the same division as Green Bay, so they're not going to win it. And the NFC North plays the NFC West this year. How many of those games is Minnesota going to win this year?
1 maybe.
Right. Did they beat anybody? Maybe 1. You're right. And so that doesn't bode well for your total wins. And I think this is a team that's about the same as it was last year. I think it's a 7-win team. I think they go 7-10, and they're under that 9-win mark that I saw. I do like their head coach, and I think that they've got great weapons. But year 2 is a struggle for a lot of receivers, and Jefferson is headed into year 2. He won't sneak up on anybody. No. So, and if Dalvin Cook can't stay healthy again, you don't have much in Minnesota.
Yeah. The number that FanDuel has is 8.5, but it's at -160. So we're going to use 9 because obviously the action has been on the over, but their schedule is hard. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to relitigate this in any way, but there is real possibility that Cousins misses a couple games because he has to quarantine in the middle of the season because he's unvaccinated. He's been very clear about his stance. Again, we're not going back to that, but this is what we talked about last week. He could harm his team just simply by being close to someone. He has to go quarantine for much longer than other people do. And so that can split a locker room. It really can in a hurry. Yeah. And so I worry about them. I worry that they lose a game they should win because he's not playing and Dalvin Cook gets banged up for 3 games and you're looking at, yeah, I mean, I think 7 or 8 is the number for them. I would have them under as well. Kyle?
Well, you guys stole literally everything I was going to say. I think it's 7. I think it's under. I think the other thing that people don't talk about with Cousins, and I'm not going to touch COVID, but he's very similar to Lamar Jackson in that he's very against it, but Jackson now has tested positive 3 times. So he's probably got some immunity that I'm not nearly as worried about him as I am with Cousins. I mean, all it takes is one person around you making a bad decision and not being respectful about something. It's not even his fault. And I respect his right to make whatever decision he wants to make, but it's going to negatively impact your team potentially at some point. So honestly, I don't think this team's very good. I've had Dalvin Cook many years. We didn't keep him when we should have kept him. And I think he's going to get hurt again. I'm going to go under, and I don't really have much else insight into the wonderful Vikings.
All right. Can I just make a quick comment on the whole, no matter what you think of COVID, the NFL's policies are very clear. And Jesse, I think your point is fantastic in that whatever the situation might be, if you make certain choices or choose not to make other choices, you could potentially harm your team. And just like last year, I think a certain number of teams ran into the same things and will and potentially run into them again this year, in that that's going to be a variable that a lot of the times you don't have to think about. And injury is always a reality in the NFL, and dealing with injury is as well. But to have to sit out a game because of a protocol and like you said, hurt your team, some of these teams are going to be right at that bubble and miss the playoffs because of something like this. And Minnesota could be one of them.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, it would really be nice to not have to deal with this stuff anymore. Really nice, but here we are. All right, we're going to let Nick in, who works for me, who is a Rams fan. And Joel, you just stay with us, and you will get your analysis as well. But we're going to let him in and see how he's doing. He's probably driving home from work, which is not super safe. But we're gonna hope. Sorry, Rhonda, that's his mom. Hi, Nick.
What's up?
What's going on?
Not much.
Are you driving right now?
Yeah, let me get the video going. It's a little dark in my car, but
Yeah, please be
we'll
safe.
make it work.
Okay, be safe.
Yeah, I
It'll
saw
be fun.
Rich. I saw Rich last week. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'll be a little
yeah.
safer than that.
We're 1 for 1 on no car crashes so far, so let's go 2 for 2. Okay.
Let's go 2 for 2 here. I got it.
All right, Nick, you're on with Kyle, my brother, who you I think have met and have seen on the podcast, and my friend Joel from Indiana, who is a 49ers fan. So we'll have a nice little friendly rivalry here.
Oh, here we go. I like it.
Hey,
Yeah.
Nick.
What's up?
So, Nick, how did you become a Rams fan? Because you also did not grow up anywhere near the sunny coast of California.
No, I grew up on the sunny coast of Florida, but my dad was a huge Rams fan when he was a kid, and it was really he was drawn to. He kind of helped out a little bit because his dad was like a big like St. Louis Cardinals fan, and so when I moved to St. Louis, it kind of like bolstered that a little bit. So it's kind of trickled down the family tree, and I'm a Rams fan and probably will be for a while. So that's how that goes.
Great. A little Reaganomics on our podcast here, a little trickle down. So, Nick, I think a lot of people are excited about the Rams this year. Do you share in that excitement?
Not really. Gonna be honest. I'm excited to see where the team goes with the roster that we've put together, but I also remain very skeptical about the roster that we've put together. Being that we probably have no offensive line and a very fragile Matthew Stafford who likes to get hurt when he gets hit. So we'll see how that goes. But I am excited, maybe not super optimistic yet. We'll see when the season starts. But
All right. So Pro Football Focus does power rankings for the 32 teams. Where do you think they put your beloved Los Angeles Rams to start the season?
Oh boy, I think I'd probably go with maybe 9 or 10.
You really are a pessimistic Rams fan. I like this. They are at 6 right now. 6.
Oh my gosh!
Listen, you have the best defensive player in football.
Agreed.
And you have the Cam Akers thing is a problem possibly. But Stafford, we don't know what we're going to get with him because of, he was in the dumpster fire that is the Lions for the last 11 years. So hopefully he's a little rejuvenated, although Joel does not feel that way. I can assure you that. But
yeah, I have no question about the defense. It's the offense that I'm worried about.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do have, much as Joel does, a kind of an offensive genius as your coach, and so you may, I think he might be able to scheme some things. And Matthew Stafford's going to go, wait a minute, it can be this easy. Like there just can be a guy running open, and I can just throw it to him. That'll be nice.
Right.
Instead of like Calvin Johnson after doing the most incredible things you've ever seen in your life, he may just be able to throw up a Cooper Kupp for 12 yards every time. So
Exactly. And about Cam Akers, we did just trade for Sony Michel earlier today. So
best of luck with that.
Kind of helps our run game maybe a little bit if he can turn it up this season. But yeah.
Yeah, well, Bill Belichick did not much care for him by the end of last year. So
not at all.
He's a first-round pick. He was talented. I mean, at Georgia, he was unbelievable. So maybe you can find some more of that. All right, Nick, continue to drive safely, please.
I will.
And here is the over/under currently for the Los Angeles Rams. Remember, it's 17 games. Vegas has them at 10.5. So you to go over be 11-6. What do you think?
So one thing I've learned with the Rams is if you give them high expectations, they shoot very low. So I think I'm gonna go with the under on that one. Not gonna lie.
All right, Nick's taking the under. Nick, you've been one of the most pessimistic fans of a team we've had, and it's kind of refreshing, honestly.
Well, I was talking to my friend today at work about. He was like, "You really have no hope," and I'm like, "No. When you're a Rams fan for this long, you learn that you can't have hope in the Rams, especially when they're leading by 15 or 20 at the half. You just can't." So
Yeah, it's the hope that kills you.
yeah.
As I've heard from Ted Lasso. So, Joel, have you ever seen Ted Lasso, by the way?
Yes. Fantastic show.
All right,
Fantastic
good.
show.
Even though it's soccer, which I know is not your favorite.
It's pulling at the heartstrings. I tell you what.
It's true.
Whew.
It's true. All right, Nick, we're going to let these other guys answer the over-under question. Then we're going to get your Super Bowl pick. So think about that. All right, Joel, over-under 10.5, Los Angeles Rams.
I think they go over. I love Matthew Stafford, and the Rams offense is predicated on play action. They want to run the football. They want to be able to throw with open windows with their quarterback outside the pocket. Honestly, their offense is a carbon copy of Shanahan's offense in San Francisco. And so when those two teams play each other, it's always fun to watch. It's going to be close. I think they go over. I think they end up at 11-6. Part of the reason why I think it's barely over is how tough their division is. I just think it's going to be a tough road to the end of the season, and to stay healthy for 17 games is going to be difficult across the board. Aaron Donald is the man, and their defense is insane. And so I think that keeps them in every game, though. So if they lose as many games as 6, it's because those games are close and it's barely lost. So I have a lot of confidence in the Rams, and I think giving McVay a quarterback like Shanahan or like Stafford, that could be scary good.
I agree. Kyle, over or under?
I think it's over. I don't feel great about it because I think that's 10.5 is a really good spot for them. Their division's great, and they're out of conference. Their out of division schedule is really, really tough. Baltimore and Green Bay. That being said, I'm not a Goff fan at all. I think they've won in spite of Goff. They won 10 games last year. Stafford, although has not really won in the past, has been in Detroit, so I don't really blame him. That being said, he's only won double-digit wins twice in his entire career. He's 23-54 against winning teams with winning records. So
good tidbit.
I'm a little bit up in the air there, but McVay's 3-1. I'm covering the over. I think they go over, but I don't think they go much over.
Boy, Kyle, this is well done. I'm actually going to go over as well. I think they're 12-5. I just think talent. Now, health. To me, it's health. They have maybe the best corner in football, definitely the best defensive player in football, major upgrade at quarterback, great wide receivers. I actually kind of love Tyler Higbee, their tight end. Drafted him in fantasy just the other night. He better be good. I don't know. I think they might be the class of the NFC. I know that's a lot to say, but we'll see. Anyhow, Nick, you got a Super Bowl pick for us real quick before you make sure you don't drive into anything?
So you want both sides? You want AFC?
I do. Yeah,
NFC?
both sides and a winner, if you don't mind.
Okay. So I know that I sound very pessimistic, but I do think my Rams can get there, whether it be through a wild card or if they win the division. But I think Rams could get there, and I think we see the Chiefs.
All right, and who's your winner?
And I got the Chiefs beating the Rams.
Listen, you brought it back around to optimistic. I'm proud of you, and we'll be. Well, some of us might be cheering for you. Definitely not Joel, but
yeah. Well, Joel and Kyle both had good points, so you brought me back around to a little bit optimistic. So
all right,
we'll take that.
Good. All right. Well, Nicholas, be safe out there, and I'll see you Saturday at basketball.
Well, I'm ready. I'm excited.
All right. See ya.
All righty. See ya.
Good to meet you, Nick.
Thanks.
Good to meet you too. See you guys.
All right, I'm going to let Nick get off here real quick. Okay, he's off. Listen, hopefully he listens to this, but I didn't want to embarrass him while he's on. Nick has worked for me for about 5 years. There's like no better human being on the planet. He's like 21, 22 years old, and geez Louise. I mean, he is as good as it gets. So I wanted to say that before we got too far away from him negatively picking the Rams to only win 10 games. All right, let's get back to sucky teams. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, Washington football team, 20th in Pro Football Focus's rankings, a hard team to nail down. I kind of love Antonio Gibson, their running back, but the person throwing the ball on the team, I don't know. So, Joel, what do you think? Where do you put them in the NFC East hierarchy?
Oh man, that is a tough question. They have a hellacious pass rush, one of the best in the NFL, bar none. Give me their defensive line just about over anybody, which can win you football games. I will tell you, no matter how good your quarterback is, circa Patrick Mahomes last year's Super Bowl, if you pass rush effectively, and they will, you can win some football games. Fitzpatrick is going to throw a ton of interceptions, and they got no hope there. And you can't turn the ball over consistently and win a lot of games. I think they fall back a little bit. I love Riverboat Ron. He is the man.
Yeah, he is.
I want him to do well. I really do. I want them to win the division. They're the team that I would like to see win the division. Don't talk to me anymore about the Cowboys. Who cares? Every year people say things about the Cowboys, and they suck
get to them.
year after
we'll
year.
Get to them. We're excited about that one.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I think they're the second best team in the NFC East. I think they have the same record as the Eagles, though. Conversely, I think they end up at 7-10, just like the Eagles, and because of a tiebreaker, the Eagles make it in this year.
All right, so you think 7-10 wins that division?
I do.
Well, then you're definitely going under the 8.5 that Vegas has for them. I have a question. I watched all of the Washington versus Tampa playoff game. Heineke was unbelievable in that game. He matched Brady throw for throw. I mean, he really did. He may have outplayed him. He just didn't have the horses to win the game. Do you think there's any chance he beats Fitzpatrick out at some point?
If you're smart, you give him a chance. I think that he showed that in that playoff game, and in the NFL, you need a few of those sparks to just keep the ball moving. If you can continue to get first downs, and even if you're kicking field goals, you're giving yourself a chance in the end, especially in the NFL. And with their defense, again, I think their defense is top class. But yeah, I think they'd be smart to at least give him a shot. They brought in Fitzpatrick for a reason. And I don't necessarily think that reason was to sit him on the bench. But I think eventually Heineke might win that job. They'd be silly if they didn't give him a shot.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, over under 8.5. I was surprised when I saw that number. I'll be honest. Seems high to me.
So I think it's under, and I think they win 8 games. I'm not a huge Fitzpleasure fan. Saw a lot of him in Tennessee. A lot of interceptions. I saw a clip of him the other day where they were interviewing him, asking him about interceptions. They said, "You once threw 5 interceptions in a game." And he goes, No, 6. 6 picks, 1 game. So it's very boom or bust. He does throw the ball down the field a lot, which is going to be positive with McLaurin. They have some deep threats, bringing in Curtis Samuel. It's still a huge upgrade, even if it's Heineke over Dwayne Haskins and Alex Smith. And their defense is awesome. And I think you're going to see a breakout year from Antonio Gibson. He's very McCaffrey-esque in that he was a wide receiver. He's going to be he's basically 1 year as a running back now, 2 years is it. I think they'll use him a lot in the passing game, kind of a safety valve for Mr. Pickens.
I hope so. I drafted him in fantasy the other night too.
So I think they can win this division even with 8 wins. But I hate this division, and I hate the Cowboys, and I'm going to enjoy watching the Cowboys lose again this year. I think it's under, but I think it's really close.
All right, I'm also taking the under. I think you guys are right in your analysis. 7 or 8 is the number. 7 or 8 could get into the playoffs. Yeah. I do like the upgrades at skill positions, and I like a second year of Antonio Gibson, and I think McLaurin is the best receiver in football that absolutely nobody knows about. I don't think people understand that guy is really skilled. He's like Keenan Allen. He's not going to blow you away with top-end speed, but he's just open. He's always open. I don't know how he does it, but he just is. They also added Adam Humphries to play in the slot. He's not healthy very often, but you never know. And Joel, I don't know anything about the linebacker they took from Kentucky in the first round, but it can't hurt an already great defense. They did lose Ronald Darby. And Alex Smith, speaking of people I'm glad that retired, gosh, I'm glad he retired. Go be with your family, please. You almost lost your leg. That was, oh boy, that was tough. So anyhow, we're all under on the Washington football team, but we all believe they could win the division. And that tells you everything you need to know about the NFC East. That's all you need to know. It's really bad. All right, we're going to keep moving or else this is going to be even longer than last week. And I didn't even know if that was possible. I can't believe how many people listened last week to the just ridiculous ramblings of these idiots that are on here. So,
Ooh, shots fired.
Not you. You weren't on last week. Just the two people on the
Well,
top.
I will say this. If you count all the teams that are going to win a ton of games that people talked about last week, and I'm sure preceded me tonight, there's going to be 27 playoff teams.
We had no single person guest come on and pick the under until tonight. You were actually the first.
And then
we just had the
followed it
second.
up. And honestly, those two teams are two really good teams.
Yeah, the teams that I thought would be over.
All right, the Falcons are number 18. I love Kyle Pitts, but I'm worried about the Falcons because they are also getting sleeper buzz. What do you think, Joel?
Well, my fantastic friend Josh Holloway loves the Falcons and die hard, but they're going to be bad. I don't care who Kyle Pitts is. He could come in and be Travis Kelce. They're not going to win a ton of football games. They have a bad defense, bad with a capital B, and I don't see that changing. And you've got a quarterback who's aging, and he's another year older, and he is not on the TB12 supplements. So it ain't happening for Atlanta. I'm sorry. It is not happening. And I don't know where this buzz is coming from, but they were 25th in giving up first downs last year. And you're not going to win a ton of football games in that situation. So I'm going, I keep going. I did some research. Tell me what the line is, so it looks like you have control over that, and I'm not just blathering on.
I have control over nothing. It's 7.5.
Yeah, I'm going under. I think they get to 6.
All right. Joel's taking under 7.5. Kyle, what do you think? We should mention. Go ahead. No, go.
I had 7, so I was actually going to push on this because I think 7's about right, and I'm going to go under since it's 7.5.
You're going to take the under. All right.
Yep. I mean, they have the names that are going to make you think that they could be a pick with Matt Ryan and Pitts and Calvin Ridley, and then there's really nothing after that. I mean, you said it, the defense is bad. There's not a lot of depth here. They were 4-12 last year, and they really didn't get any better. I mean, you added Mike Davis, you added Kratt. There's not anything I'm excited about here.
No one knows what you're talking about.
Okay, so to give a little reference, since I've referenced Kratt 4 times on this podcast, we Cordell, I don't even know how to say his name.
Yeah, Patterson. Yeah.
Yeah, I still can't say it. Anyways, we had an autograph of his that we stumbled across at a card show, and for those of you who have never been to a card show, they're fun for me for like 25 minutes, and then we've got 7 more days. So I'm just looking at cards, and his signature is literally Kratt. It's C-R-A-T.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
And it's hilarious. It's
Kratt.
It looks like a 4-year-old wrote Kratt all the way across his card.
So that's what we've called him ever since, Kratt.
I'm a huge fan of Kratt, so I still think they're going to go under.
I wonder what that guy's Wonderlic score was.
Low.
Couldn't have been good.
No. Yes, they added Pitts, Mike Davis. Richie Grant was the safety from UCF, was their second-round pick for defense. They lost Julio Jones, Keanu Neal, Todd Gurley, Brian Hill. Who cares on those? But you guys, I'm going to zag a little bit here. I actually do kind of like the Falcons. I'm going to take them at 9-8, taking the over. I'm probably going to be wrong because I have liked them before and been terribly wrong. They're on like year 5 of Super Bowl hangover, which is the problem. But we'll see. So that's the Falcons. They're ranked 18, if I didn't mention it on Pro Football Focus, right behind the Dallas Cowboys, number 17. We're all ready for this one.
Break.
Joel, let it fly. Let's go.
Okay, stop talking about Dallas. Show me something before you talk about Dallas again. And honestly, every organization under the sun who is connected to sports and broadcasts anything is going to talk about Dallas because they have bajillions of fans. And so, okay, well, maybe we'll get some better ratings because we talk about the Cowboys. Look at how good Dak Prescott is. And man, Ezekiel Elliott is only 40 years old. He's going to be fantastic again. They're bad. They're bad. And until they prove it, they're still bad. I don't care how many receivers you draft. I don't care what their upside is. Amari Cooper went from being great with the Raiders to looking like, so-so with Dallas. And that's not because of Amari Cooper. That's because of the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't care that they change coaches. I think it's a culture that comes from the top, right from Jerry Jones's nasal hair on down to that stupid, gigantic jumbotron they have in the middle of the field that people punt the ball into all the time. I hate the Cowboys. They're terrible. I'm going way under on this one. They get to 5 wins, 5-12, and they can lick the rubber out of their own turf. Who cares?
That's amazing. Their
Go
over-under
to the next team.
Their over-under is 9.5. Joel's taken 5. I've enjoyed this segment already, and I know Kyle wants to add on. So, Kyle, go ahead.
So my friend who listens to this podcast bailed on talking about the Cowboys, and it's probably a wise choice because I think we're all going to go under here. 9.5 seems really high for a team that won 6 games last year, and I don't think is really any better at all. Now, getting Dak back obviously helps, but he's hurt right now already. So who knows if he's even going to actually play. I think they win 7 or 8 games. I still think they're in contention because this division sucks, but I don't think they're very good. This is the worst defense that I have ever seen last year. And obviously they addressed that in the draft, but you addressed it with a bunch of rookies that who knows what you're actually going to get. Now, Dan Quinn, probably an upgrade over Mike Nolan. Anyone would be an upgrade over Mike Nolan at this point, but I still don't think they're that great. They've gone under 12 of the last 19 seasons. That's insane. It's hard to do. So I'm going to go under. That's about all I got.
Listen, I totally agree. I cannot fathom why they should have the highest over under in the division. It's a bunch of shiny toys. It's like we all know people like this that are like, you're like, wow, that's a really impressive person. Then you get to know the person. You're like, actually, there's nothing underneath the hood. It's just a bunch of shine on the outside. And that's been the Cowboys for a long, long time. I don't believe it at all. You have a quarterback coming back from a terribly gruesome injury, and you have a bunch of guys that are overrated and a defense that can't stop anyone. So yeah, they might luck into winning 8 games and win the division because the division is that bad, but it's not because they're good. And it's constant wall-to-wall TV coverage, and I was laughing. I saw a tweet the other day. Max Kellerman isn't going to be on Monday on First Take, and they're replacing him with Michael Irvin on Mondays, quite possibly. And it was Brian Phillips who writes for The Ringer. He said, well, thank goodness. I was really worried because there's barely any segments devoted to the Cowboys on Monday morning. So that's good. We got to make sure we cover that. They are America's team, and they are America's 7-10 team. That's been what they've been for a long, long time. I mean, Joel and I were in elementary school last time they won a Super Bowl, or were in a Super Bowl. And so Kyle was in diapers, basically. Probably he was 5, so probably not. But you get the point. Maybe. Kyle did pee a lot during the night when he sleepwalked. So there's that. I told that story at his wedding. It's okay.
Well, Dad told it on the podcast. So.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't your dad tell it on this very podcast?
That's right. Well, I've gotten buried a couple times tonight, so there you go. But yeah, it's an under for all of us. And show me. That's really it's exactly the right philosophy. Don't pick the over until you prove it to me. And if you do, I'll clap for you, but not very hard because I don't like the Cowboys either, and I don't even have a reason like the 49ers. By the way, I remember where I was. There are not that many moments. We might have been together, but I'm not sure. When Terrell Owens caught the ball where it was the most incredible. It was in the playoffs, and Steve Young threaded it between like 3 guys, and then 2 people smashed him, and he held on to it. I feel like I was in a church somewhere doing something. I don't know what we were doing.
I think we were together.
I think we were together.
I was just thinking about that today and trying to talk to Stacy, my wife, which, by the way, is not the family who was involved in the TPing fiasco in your County Road 22 home. So just to clear that up, I did not marry that lady. My wife is a lovely individual. So is that. Anyway, yes, I think we were together. You guys tell too many stories on this podcast.
Stacy absolutely was there. Don't even get out of here.
Well, she was TPing the house.
Oh, no, she didn't do what we did.
No, but she didn't live there. I think you were confused. Anyway.
Yeah, okay. No,
the Cowboys are bad.
Yeah,
Let's go back to football.
let's do it. Arizona Cardinals, number 16.
Arizona is the Jekyll and Hyde of all football teams in the NFL this season. I think they are the toughest one to put a finger on by a long shot. I like Kyler Murray, but he isn't going to help you at times when he needs to help you. I love DeAndre Hopkins. He's the best receiver in the NFL. He won a game by himself last year. He beat the Buffalo Bills by himself last year. And I think they have a solid young defense that they put some key pieces into. I like Buda Baker at the safety position, and I think you need people like that to cover the likes of George Kittle in this division. But they have a bad offensive line. And they give up a ton of sacks. And part of those sacks come from Kyler Murray just not – he strings things out a lot, which can be good and can end up bad. I think people think Kyler Murray is the next Russell Wilson, and I think that is a tremendous exaggeration. Russell Wilson is steady Eddie. Kyler Murray is like a roller coaster. And you need – consistency at the quarterback position to be a contender every year. That's why Seattle is pushing for the playoffs every year, and it's why Arizona ends up right at about 500 recently. I like Cliff Kingsbury. I think that they've got a lot of pieces that are fantastic, and they play in great weather, which is awesome. But they're tough to put a finger on. Tell me what the line is.
It's 8.5, which is right about what it should be.
Yeah. I think they go over. I think they get to 9 wins. I think they end up 9-8.
Kyle?
I think they go under because I think they end up at 8. I am not a huge Cliff Kingsbury fan. Their offense to me is, while creative, a little frustrating. It seems like they forget that you can actually throw the ball further than the first down marker, and that it's so slow. I love Kyler Murray, but you're right in that he's not the consistent person that Russell Westbrook is.
Russell Westbrook actually is much more like Kyler Murray.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking at their schedule, I don't think they win a division game. I mean, they might sneak 1 or 2 out, but I think they're the worst team in this division, and I don't really even think it's close. And their non-division schedule is tough. They play Green Bay, they play Tennessee, they play Cleveland. And then it's a dumpster fire after that. But I think they're going to struggle to get to more than 8, so I'm going to go under.
Oh, 8.5, so good. Again, it's a perfect number. Kyler Murray reminds me of like a hamster on a wheel. He's just
so fast.
He's so fast, and it's really fun to watch, and you can be mesmerized. But then, like, where are you actually going sometimes?
Yeah.
I love watching them because they have such great skill guys, and even like Christian Kirk will have these games where it's like, oh my gosh, like that guy's unbelievable. I mean, he won us a fantasy week by himself last year. He was at like 43 fantasy points, but like they just leave you feeling cold. Kingsbury makes ridiculous decisions at the end of quarters and games. I don't know. I believe in the other 3 teams in that division so much. I think I take the under, but it's 8 or 9. I mean, yeah, it's 8 or 9, and they could, it's luck. Like if they lose a couple close games, it could be 7. If they win a couple close games, it could be 10. But I would pick them at 8 and 9, which is just a slight under. But again, we're splitting hairs on these. It's not like the Cowboys were all like, yeah, just give me the under and let me have it for a while. Yeah. So anyhow,
Kyler Murray. Let me just say this. Kyler Murray, best slider in all of football.
He's
that dude. Oh, he's so good at it.
Player.
Exactly. That you see that in his abilities on the field. He throws the ball a little bit like he's throwing a baseball too. I will say that.
Yeah. And it's fun. I know you hate baseball, but 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL were really, really good baseball players, Mahomes and
I think that says more about the NFL than it does about baseball.
Well, maybe.
Because they're playing football.
Maybe.
Baseball. Who cares? Wrong podcast. Whoops.
Yeah. You're going to touch a nerve here. I'm just kidding.
Where is Steve Bachman when you need him?
Yeah. He's in bed. That's where Steve Bachman is. All right.
Larry Bird.
Speaking of Seattle Seahawks, number 10 on Pro Football Focus. They have Russell Wilson, which sure doesn't hurt. Their over-under is you'd think I would have these more readily available, but it is 10 on the nose, which is tough again. Their team also left me cold last year, especially in the second half of the year. So it's hard to know what was actually the Seahawks. They have running back issues as far as health. I kind of like their running backs, but they're never on the field. So they're tricky. Joel, what do you think?
I know it's stupid to bet a push, but I'm saying push. I think they go 10-7. Pete Carroll is still a fantastic coach. I think Ken Norton Jr. is a really good defensive coordinator. I really do like what they do. And I think their coaching and, of course, Russell Wilson's consistency keeps them in the playoff picture every year. They have fantastic weapons for him to just chuck the ball deep. Maybe the best two deep threats in all of the NFL. I think Tyler Lockett, you were mentioning Terry McLaurin, but Tyler Lockett may be in that same conversation for the best receiver that nobody talks about, because that dude is always open, and he is the perfect receiver for a guy like Russell Wilson. Seems like they went from Baldwin to Lockett to, and they just keep bringing in these receivers, and Metcalf is a dude. Their offensive line is maybe the worst in the NFL. I don't think it got any better. Their defense is getting progressively worse year after year as well. They are not the Legion of Boom like they were back about 9 years ago. So I think they're still a good team, and I think Russell Wilson can win 6 games by himself. He's good enough to do that. He doesn't need a team around him to win every game. But that's going to catch up to you at some point, especially in the NFC West. So I think it's a push, 10-7. I do think they make the playoffs, though, again. For whatever weird reason, I think Seattle always ends up in the playoffs.
Always. Kyle, Joel takes a push, 10 wins. I really wish there was a half game on this. I really wish.
Yeah, well, and it was 9.5 in what I saw, so I'm sticking with my 9.5. I think they win 10-11 though. Seattle's won 10+ games in 8 of their last 9 years. It's Mr. Consistent. You're right that their offensive line is pretty brutal, but their defense was great last year, especially towards the end of last year. They allowed less than 16 points per game in the last 8 games of 2020. I think their defense holds them together. I think Wilson's good again, and I think they win 11. I actually really like them to potentially be in the Super Bowl this year.
All right. Well, there you go. Russell Wilson reminds me of like a superstar in the NBA where if you have him, you're going to win 50 games, and then you see what happens after that. He's not a good interview. He's all, he's got the classic sports talk, like positive energy, but the guy wins games. He just does. And you get rid of a stupid play call and he has 2 Super Bowl rings already. And I want to take the push with you. I do, because I think 10 is right, but I'm going to go over. I've taken a lot of unders, so I'm going to take the over. I'll get them to 11.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to watch the Rams sack him 8 times. And then I'm going to go, shoot, that was a bad choice, but we'll see.
But one thing to add. So I do a lot of interviewing for my job. It's a lot of nurses for the most part, but also do some office staff and everything. And you spoke to Russell Wilson's interview skills, and that is the most coach speak that I've ever heard in my entire life.
Oh.
I can't handle it. It's why I've disliked him his entire career. You got to give me something. So I start most interviews, because we want it to be a conversation. I want to actually hear stories, not just the coach speak, by saying, please don't sound like Russell Wilson. No nurse ever knows what I'm talking about, but the few people that actually do, their eyes just light up and they're like, yes, you actually get a good interview then. Yeah. Give me something good. And he's never going to give you anything good other than wins.
Yeah. He's a good quarterback, but that's about it.
You're hiring a lot of Seahawks fans there, Kyle, or what?
Yeah, in Middlebury, Indiana. Yeah.
Every once in a while.
All right.
Seems like a problem.
We're coming down the home stretch here, actually. We've got this cannot be correct. Team number 7, the New Orleans Saints. I guess I'm flabbergasted by that. We have 2 teams left, both in the NFC South. New Orleans Saints are not the 7th best team in football. Or tell me that I'm wrong, Joel.
No, I'm not going to tell you anything. What I'm going to tell you is that if J-Boo wins as your starter, you're going to struggle. He throws interceptions like it's his job. What is the one difference between the 2019 Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And it's Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
that's it. Their defense is getting older. The things that they have going for them, they have a tremendous home field advantage, probably second in the NFL or third, maybe to the Chiefs and the Seahawks. And they play in that dome, and they're going to play in great weather for a majority of their games. So that is helpful. I think Sean Payton can coach some football now. But come on. Jameis Winston isn't going to give you what you need, and you're not going to be the 7th best team in the NFL. I have them way under. I think they maybe make it to 6 wins.
Wow. I love that because I felt the same, and I wanted to be validated by – I was interested to what you thought about that. They don't have Michael Thomas to start the year because he put off a surgery. Michael Thomas, by the way, seems like a tremendously difficult human being. Tremendously.
Yes.
He's really good at what he does. He's like the opposite of Russell Wilson. They're both really good at what they do, and Michael Thomas is like has no character, it appears. Mm-hmm. They added Chris Hogan, who cares? Nick Van Ant, who cares? To replace Jared Cook, which is not going to work. They drafted Ian Book, who cares? Drew Brees retired. You should probably care about that, although it was falling apart towards the end. I mean, you could tell it was like the old Broncos offense in the last year of Peyton Manning, where it's like, we don't actually trust this guy to make the throws we need him to make. And that's sad when you see a guy that's, has all the records except for Tom Brady. It's just not there anymore. They lost Emmanuel Sanders, who's 34. It doesn't matter. Jared Cook, though, I like, and he's gone. Although he had a fumble that probably changed the course of the NFL playoffs last year. They were driving to go up 2 scores against the Bucs in the second half. He fumbles, quick score. That's it. Bucs win. Bucs probably should have lost both to the Packers and to the Saints in the playoffs last year, which is all the more disappointing because this is not a pro Tom Brady podcast. That's all I have to say. The over-under is only 9, though. It's low. Joel says 6. I love it. I love when we're far away from the over-under. Kyle, I'm interested if your perspective is the same or different.
So I debated back and forth on this. I think I'm going to go over. I see what you're saying with losing Drew Brees, but boy, have I watched a lot of Drew Brees lately. And yeah, they're going to miss his ability to make the right passes and manage the game. And boy, are you going to see a difference with how Jameis Winston manages the game compared to Drew Brees. But
he doesn't manage the game.
Brees couldn't make any passes past like 7 yards last year. So I think even if it's Taysom Hill, you're going to see a better passer potentially, at least down the field. Now Taysom Hill turns the ball over a lot. When he took over last year, he actually had more tackles than completions on the year. So it's not like I trust him either, but their defense is still good, albeit a little bit old. And 9 wins is not that much, especially looking at their out of conference schedule. And to me, if Carolina and Atlanta are as bad as I think they are, I think there's a pretty easy path to that many wins.
So I'm coupling this as an under with my Carolina over. Let me make sure I actually did that because that would be a real disaster if I didn't. I don't know. I can't find my papers. No,
I missed one fact. Go ahead. They're 8-1 in the last 2 seasons without Drew Brees. So they have survived sufficiently.
That's a good point. I'm still taking the under. I don't know. Jameis Winston, it's just, I can't imagine him helming a 10-win football team. He just is such an idiot. And he makes throws. I mean, he had those guys that were so talented in Tampa, and there were guys running open all the time. Again, I watch a lot of Florida football teams down here. And he would make throws that just made you like, you don't have to do that. You have Godwin and Mike Evans and Cameron Brate and all these O.J. Howard. What are you doing? And he has less talent by far to work with now. I don't see it. Now, maybe it's the division sucks and Tom Brady gets hurt and they win 11 games and I look like a moron, but I don't know. I don't see it at all. I'm confused by this number 7 grade. I don't know who on their team Pro Football Focus thinks is way above average, honestly. And so I mean, they know more than I do, but I don't see it. All right. This brings us to our final team. We'll save the worst for last. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rated number 2 by Pro Football Focus. What can be said? I hate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're on my TV every Sunday. I don't want to watch. I hope that they go 7-10, but they're not going to. Joel, what do you think?
So I'm going to use this time to say that what happened last year in the NFL probably means far little to what will happen this coming season. So we're all going to look like dummies when we look back at this at the end of the season. There are going to be teams that we're saying are garbage that are going to be great, and that are great that could be garbage. Tampa Bay has everything. I cannot see a weakness. Tom Brady, and I hate to say this, is the greatest football player that's ever laced them up. And
Right.
the wins speak for themselves. I will say this. If that snowy night in Foxborough, if the refs call that a fumble, are we ever talking about Tom Brady? I'm just going to place that out there. People can say what they want to say. If the Raiders beat the Patriots that many years ago, and I really do think in football especially, it's those types of plays that give such crazy tipping points for teams and for futures of franchises. And we've seen it with this individual, this Tom Brady. He plays on a fantastic team now. He made the right decision to go to Tampa Bay. When he made that decision, and now we're getting more information that's come out from it, I think there were some teams that were stupid not to bring him on, and I think one of them is my favorite team. They should have pursued him. I don't care who you have. He's the guy. They have great weapons. Their coaching staff is maybe the best in the NFL. Give me Byron Leftwich calling plays all day long. Love that dude. And I really like Raheem Morris, too, on the defensive side. And Bruce Arians is the man. He wins football games. The guy is a genius. Tell me where the weakness is. They have maybe the best front seven in the NFL. And that's going to win you games. And if Tom Brady can pick you apart, the most accurate passer that has ever laced them up, tell me where the weakness is. They're going to score points. They're not going to give up a ton. They play in fantastic weather all the time. What's the weakness?
It doesn't exist.
But to me, the only argument for a weakness is that they're somewhat of an old team that was the healthiest team in football last year, and there's a little bit of a depth issue. So if you run into injuries, maybe, but that's it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, on some of these teams we listed off key acquisitions and losses because it needed to be read. There's nothing on their page. It's the same team, and they won the Super Bowl, and they got better as the year went on, and they have terrifying defensive players, and they have terrifying offensive players, and they have the greatest quarterback of all time. It's the worst.
And the greatest quarterback of all time that now has an entire offseason and training camp to actually build some chemistry with his weapons. He had none of that last year. They basically went in blind.
Yep.
And he thrives on that. Of all the people, like, he's not Patrick Mahomes who can improvise and run around. He needs, like, that guy's going to be there, and that guy, and when he knows it, it's not good.
And let me tell you what happens in the NFL, and this is pervasive. This is every team. If you get to a third down situation and you have anything more than about 7 yards to go, NFL teams get in empty. They will start with a back in the backfield. They'll move him out. They'll go in empty. Tom Brady is the only quarterback who consistently converts when his team goes empty. And I don't know why NFL teams do it. They must know better than I do. I'm not saying that I know better than they do, but I watch my team do it all the time. And Garoppolo sits in that tiny pocket and tries to fit a pass into this tiny window because it's man coverage all the time in those situations. Man coverage is Tom Brady's favorite thing. Give him man coverage all day long. Give him one receiver that has a tiny bit of daylight. He'll deliver the ball where it needs to be, and they'll convert. How do you get them off the field? Their run game is fantastic. Their offensive line is great. Their offensive line got better because of Brady. He makes everybody around him better. Yeah. I think they're over. I think they go 13-4.
Yeah, it's 11.5. To me, it's one of the no-brainers of all of these. Kyle, I'm interested in what you think. And Kyle knows I love Ronald Jones. Because again, I watch a lot of Bucks, and when they give him the ball a lot, it's like, that guy's freaking good.
So
and they have Fournette too. None of it is fair. It just makes me sick. But like, how do you not take the over? Kyle, are you gonna wow us with an under prediction?
No, 13 is what I have written down. It's over.
Yeah.
And again, the only where I have is that they were the single healthiest football team last year, and you don't normally see that as a repeat, especially coming off a Super Bowl. trip, but that's it basically.
I actually think they are going to win 14 because I think the division's not very good, and and there's just not another team that's nearly as complete. There are going to be games where Brady maybe looks his age, and it doesn't matter because they get after the other team's quarterback and they cause 4 turnovers and they win that way. They're not one dimensional at all. They're terrifying, and so it's over for me.
And thinking back, and I know we mentioned the Packers and how they might have been, maybe should have been beaten by Green Bay in that playoff game. Think about the difference in that game. That late first half touchdown that Brady throws to a wide open wide receiver, making Green Bay look like they don't know how to play football, like they've never practiced.
Yeah.
And it's Tom Brady is the reason for that. And I'm, you can say what you want about the dude. He's the reason for that. He called that play, and it probably wasn't called in the huddle. He probably audibled to that and just said, hey, okay, Green Bay, you think we're going to do this or not? And that's the difference in the game. What was the final score? 31-23?
It was close. Yep.
That's one score and a 2-point conversion.
I just think it was 31-26. Remember, they kicked a field goal on 4th.
Oh, you're right. That's right.
They should have gone for it.
That's right.
And again, giving the ball back to Tom Brady, like, hey, you need to get a first down. Well, okay. I have one question for you before Kyle and I make our Super Bowl pick. Do you think the NFL goes backwards on full stadiums?
No, I don't. Here's the thing. I heard you guys say this in one of your recent podcasts. It's nice to have fans back in the stands.
Yes,
it makes watching sports more enjoyable. It does. Last year's football season was really odd. Speaking of, the 49ers didn't even finish the season in their own stadium. They had to play in another state. They played in Arizona for the last few games. Like, just a weird season. Do I think the NFL should maybe consider closing things down a bit? Yeah, I do. It's a scary time out there. And I know, I have a 2-year-old son. He can't be vaccinated. And those things kind of get to you as a parent. And I just shudder to think what we could end up with if the NFL doesn't make those decisions. Not to get too much in the weeds there, but the NFL is all about cash, and
That's correct.
They are the best league in all of pro sports when it comes to inflating their profits, and they will do anything to do it. They don't care about the players; they want to make more money.
Well, yeah, we're playing 17 games this year in 18 weeks, so there you go.
Stupid.
Yeah.
But the only reason they're doing that is to make more money.
Right.
So I think stadiums will be full.
Yeah, I just worry about places like the Superdome that are all the way indoors.
Yep.
That's
in Louisiana.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. All right, let's get off this. Kyle, what is your Super Bowl pick?
All right, I've got the Chiefs against the Browns, and then the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay, I was going to say that certainly cannot be the Super Bowl.
We're mixing it up this year. Then I've got Seattle over the Bucks. I've got KC over Seattle.
All right, KC is the champ. Well, I've gone back and forth on this about 100 times. I'm going to have the Rams in the Super Bowl. I don't know. I just feel like they have the most blue chip talent in the NFC. Well, okay, the Bucks probably do, but I'm not picking the Bucks. That's my deal. I will not do it. I thought about the Packers. I thought about the Bucks. I thought about I actually did think about the 49ers, believe it or not. I did not think about any teams in the NFC East. That wasn't a problem. And then I actually am going to pick, this is going to sound ridiculous, the Cleveland Browns to make it out of the AFC. I think they're really interesting this year. I think they're the best team in that division. And I don't know. I just like their team. Their quarterback is the part that I don't like as much. But I think their defense, Myles Garrett, all those guys, I think they're awesome. I've thought about this a lot lately. A lot of people pick the Bills. I'm not picking the Bills. And the Chiefs, I think it catches up to them this year. Injury stuff and their line. And boy, I hope Mahomes is healthy because he's my favorite guy to watch. He's the most talented quarterback I think I've ever seen in my life. I really do believe that. I think he's the most talented guy. Not greatest yet. We're not there. But I'm going to go Rams versus Brown. I'm going to Rams win the Super Bowl. Sorry, I just picked a team from your team's division.
You know what? I like that pick. I like both of those picks. I like that both of you respect the Cleveland Browns. They've been dirt horrible for a long time.
That's correct.
Say what you will about Baker Mayfield, but I saw a statistic about him the other day that was a really impressive stat. And for the life of me, I can't recall it right now, but it was something with regarding to yards per attempt, which is a metric that a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL are measured by. And in fact, it's something that coaches should be measured by as well, because if you can scheme it up and a bad quarterback can have a lot of yards per attempt, Jimmy G, then that's an impressive thing. But Baker Mayfield has gotten more consistent, and he is able to do things that team needs him to do, and they're young. And if they stay healthy, they have a great pass rush as well. And I think you need that to go far in the playoffs. They're a good pick. I like them to go far. How do you pick against Kansas City though?
Well, that's the problem. It would only be health. I mean, Mahomes again. That's the problem. Is you go, okay, let's say it's Mahomes against Baker Mayfield in the AFC Championship game. I'm not picking the Browns. I'm not doing it. So it's really a contrarian pick, honestly, and it's a Super Bowl that the NFL would go, oh boy, Rams Browns, Stafford versus Baker Mayfield. Woo! This color scheme is terrible. The whole thing would be terrible.
I know we've been on this for a long time, and I don't want to keep you guys very long, but I have a question for the both of you. In terms of the NFL, now you have both said on this very podcast that you don't follow the NFL a ton. Obviously, the NFL has ridiculous following from ridiculous places all over the corners of this country. What could the NFL do to capture fans like yourselves that would get you watching more football games and making it something that you felt like, I can get into this?
I mean, I'll let Kyle speak for himself. I'm kind of lying. I watch the NFL for like 12 hours every Sunday, and I'm in 4 fantasy leagues.
Kind of what I thought.
But I don't spend any time with it in the off season. Like, I don't really care. I will watch the draft, of course, for the first round, and then I'm out on that. Like Ty Miller, who we had on this podcast earlier, does like full scouting breakdowns for the Packers every draft on Facebook. And I'm like, wow, that's really impressive. I don't care. But I love when people are that passionate about it. Like, I really do. So I follow it really closely during the season because I love it. But it is not an off-season sport for me. That would be my thought. Kyle?
Well, and I think I'm kind of the same. But there will be weeks that I don't watch a single NFL game, but there will also be weeks when I just consume it constantly, and it's basically just being shot into my veins. So it's a very hit or miss, though, and I don't pay any attention in the offseason. So when I'm going through and doing research for this, it's like, oh, wow, okay, that guy's on that team now. So compared to the NBA, where I could name you the entire roster for every single team, and I could do most of that for baseball, I can't even get close for the NFL. So it's very much acquired. Well, yeah, but it's very much acquired knowledge when I'm prepping for this compared to I don't have to do any research on some stuff.
Final little question for both of you. And Jesse, you mentioned this in this podcast previously. Neither one of you could play football when you were younger by your own family's design. Given that the game has changed so much, and I know it is still a brutal, brutal sport, don't get me wrong, but it's different. Like even when we were in high school, Jesse, there was maybe 1 or 2 teams that ran any sort of 3 wide receiver sets. It was just different. I mean, they were shoving the football down your throat every down. If you were playing now, would you consider it more than potentially way back in the day?
I mean, the problem, I think, for me, like let's say my kid, because I do have a son now, I think the scary part for me is that we also know way more about what football has done to people's heads. I don't know that, well, yours at least big and strong.
That's how I got these gap teeth.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I would let my child play tackle football. Maybe if they were the quarterback, because the quarterbacks sure do get protected. And, that's not to like, I understand the other perspective completely. I assume you would want your child to play football. It's what your family lives and breathes. But I don't know. I assume your child will be very sturdy human being, whereas my children are all going to be built out of like straw, because Emily and I are both frail human beings. So I think ultimately I'm happy that my parents didn't let me play because of what I got to go on and do in college playing baseball. But Kyle did play a little bit of tackle football earlier in his life, and was certainly built for it much more than this little idiot over here. So Kyle, what do you think?
Well, and I was in a different boat in that I was not mandated to play. I was perfectly allowed to, but I had issues with asthma and pads, so it was miserable for me. But I loved it when I played, and if I had it to do over again, I think I would have played in high school, just because I was definitely built for it more than the other one here. So
Okay, I am biased, of course, as Jesse states, and certainly I love the game of football. It's fantastic. I do wonder sometimes. Now, first of all, I don't know what either one of my sons is going to want to do. I have a 9-month-old and one that's about to turn 3. So who the heck knows? I know that I just asked Jasper, my oldest, what he wanted for his birthday coming up in September, and he said, "I want a football helmet that fits my head, and I want a football." And I thought in that very moment, I was proud at first, like, yeah, this is awesome, because we don't shove anything down his throat. It's just, it is part of who we are as a family. But I also thought, it's what we know about football is different than what we knew in the past. And I have continual issues because I played for so long. And just, it is something that you knew, or at least now, that you might have to sacrifice some of your future. Now, my issues are not related to my brain. I'm a complete genius, but they are, there's some of those other issues that do persist. And it's funny, I think football is thriving in so many local communities across the country because Little League Baseball has disappeared off the face of the planet. And it's become a bunch of people who think, I'd rather have my kid play in this silly travel league than play with my friends in my local community. And Jesse Bachman and Kyle, both two of the greatest baseball players I've ever seen play. And they played in our local town. They didn't pay thousands to go travel around the nation, and they still got seen. So I think baseball is headed in the wrong direction, and kids are playing more football, more soccer, more of those types of sports. And I don't know, football is changing, and I hope they continue to change. I hope they're intelligent about that. And if I was a young person, I wouldn't want if I was a young person, I wouldn't want to be playing tackle football until I was maybe 6th or 7th grade. I think you'd have to play flag football prior to that. That's silly to do anything other than that. But yeah, I feel like that's a big point that a lot of us miss. And I know I love your things I hate segment. I love it. And I hate the pressure that parents put on kids. Why the heck can't we be good parents and let kids develop into the individuals they need to be, and nurture that and progress that? And I think your dad made a very similar point. And when he was saying it, he said it more eloquently than I did, but it choked me up a little bit being a parent of 2 kids. But I just wanted to add that here at the end, because it is changing the landscape for young people. And it's almost sad to see, what happened to Little League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I was talking to UCF's head baseball coach the other day, who I've got the great pleasure of knowing, who is just an awesome person. I'm coaching his son in basketball right now, and he was talking about their travel baseball team, and he goes, "I hate it, actually. It's not the right model. It doesn't make sense. But they play with their friends, and they love it, and so on." And he said, we got a kid coming in. He played football and baseball. He's going to start out behind some of our guys, and guess what? He's going to cruise right past them, because he's a well-rounded athlete, and he can solve problems, and he can figure it all out. And yeah, I don't like the specialization. I don't like the hours and hours spent, kind of being a family, but not really. I appreciate my parents for a lot of things, and that's really at the top of my list, that they have the perspective to say, you're gonna play with your friends because it's gonna be awesome, and then you can go pursue what you want when you can drive and do your own thing. And I wouldn't have changed any of that. So we're nearing 3 hours on this podcast, which is an outrage. We'll edit some of it because there was some dead time there in the middle, thankfully. But anyone who's listened this far, well, we sure love you, Joel. We sure appreciate you sticking with us for this long and having way more to say correctly about football than either of us ever could. So thank you for spending the night with us. And we're going to have some people on as the season goes on. And if you'd like to be one of those people, we'll hit you up.
Yeah, I would. I love this. I miss hanging out with friends. You know, you turn 35, which I turned last week, and it's like, what happened? I don't have my friends are my kids. Like, oh, it's sad. I mean, it's great. I love it, but it's sad. No, I appreciate both of you guys for having me on. You both, seriously, you do such a good job with this podcast. It's entertaining. It keeps a fresh beat. I know this has been a long one, but even when you're talking about baseball for 45 minutes and I'm like literally trying to pull my teeth out, it's fun because you're bringing in stuff that is really interesting. And I love those segments. Kyle, you got to bring back some animal facts. Come on. The pro facts were fantastic. Please bring them back.
So we're going to do right before the playoffs for baseball, we're going to do a 16-hour monstrosity that you're going to have to sit through. And we're just going to play it on repeat in your house through your speakers. I'm going to hack anything that you have that's a smart device. And
oh my gosh, this got dark all of a sudden. All right, we really got to go. This is the longest podcast that's ever happened in the history of the world. Joel, we appreciate you. Kyle, no, we're not even signing off after this. We're just done. We got to all go to bed. We got to work tomorrow.
I got to eat dinner.
Yeah, you do. You've only had peaches for dinner. All right, we'll talk to you all later.
See you, Joel.